Here, do I not have that?
I did.
Do I not have that?
I did. I thought it would be better if you were there.
My computer?
Yeah,
Have we moved into a
new configuration here.
mayoral?
Acting mayor is Councillor Daly, and he will be presiding over the committee of the whole. And welcome, everybody. We're organized. Oh my gosh, Bill, what did you do?
He's had that for a while.
Did you, that's all? On the ice? Oh,
Yeah, on the ice on the street.
I'm sorry.
Don't be too sorry, he'll be sending us a bill.
That's so, what, oh man. I thought you were gonna tell me you were playing
What
hockey.
did you want to know? That's what I thought. We're gonna have to do that on every one because it's not there.
So we're in committee of the whole, right?
I'd love it. Love it.
I think.
That's what I was trying to talk to Kevin about, the median of the votes.
Where does it go? Well, we could add it on there.
Well, it's the starting point, so it's the last column.
Oh, it's there with no code.
We could do it here.
There with no code.
So I'm just putting it in.
You say it, I can't, you'll shoot me.
Starting point.
I'm okay with it.
That's what.
Can we scribble on these?
Yes, we're just saying that we're noticing that under the recommendations that we don't have.
A median for the voted numbers. It just went with the highest, which is what the policy says.
I see.
The policy says start with the highest,
Okay, so you
but
want
immediately we go to, can you give me a median number and put it up? But Kevin's gonna do that.
we can, I can see them all with other people.
So where are you starting? Oh,
Okay, how about I tell you what they are and you punch them out? Because they're all over the place. That's a better idea. So. Well, we could do.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Do you wanna, we'll just pull up the other one, and just see if it's, that's the spreadsheet, so can we just?
These are the votes?
Yeah, these are. It's over here.
Good.
They should spell that abbreviation ASS dot O or something.
Yeah. You're right. It's a little bad.
In the end, you ask presentation.
Okay, 1 o'clock.
All right, being 1 o'clock on this Monday afternoon, April 16th, I'd like to call to order Committee of the Whole for the City of Nelson. And I, so a motion for call to order. Do we need,
No,
yes?
no motion for that. You're just
Okay, we'll
called. Yeah.
call the meeting to order. The first order of business is an Aboriginal acknowledgement. The City of Nelson acknowledges all Aboriginal peoples on whose traditional territories we stand. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strengths as a community. Are there any introductions of late items? Any late items? Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? Councillor Warmington, Councillor Churlo. Thank you. We have a cultural presentation. Thank you. Thanks, Joy.
My name is Joy Barrett, and I'm the Cultural Development Officer for the City of Nelson. And I am here today to welcome Raya Liebig, who is here to present in honor of National Poetry Month. So, established in Canada in 1999 by the League of Canadian Poets, National Poetry Month brings together people from across the country to celebrate poetry and its vital place in Canada's culture. The Mayor's Poetry City Challenge project encourages municipal councils across Canada to take a few minutes in their council meetings to recognize the poets in their communities, the contribution of poetry to the arts in Canada, the enormous contribution small publishers to the history and cultural development of Canada. Raya Liebig is a bilingual poet and writer, a graduate of McGill University with a BA in English Literature, and taught French at the Nelson Waldorf School for 10 years. Her collection of poems entitled Tell Me Everything won the Golden Grassroots Chapbook Award and was published by the Ontario Poetry Society in 2015. With the support of a CBT artist grant, she has recently completed a full-length poetry manuscript entitled You Gave Me a Name. Raya teaches liminal life writing at Oxygen Art Center, Writing Through Grief at Kalen Hospice, and leads the Creative Writing Club for Teens at the Nelson Municipal Library. Welcome, Raya.
So I have 3 short poems to read to you, and they are poems that are part of the new book that I've written, and they're in memory of my mother. And the first one is called Hayat, and it's a poem in 2 parts. So it's the story of my grandmother and her relationship with her daughter, and my very different relationship with my grandmother, the same person. And grandmother in Arabic is Teta. So I'll try and read it so that you can tell which part is which. So, Hayat, a Quranic name for a girl, meaning life. Min Hayati. My Teta calls out, my sister and I respond. Min Habibti, who is my darling? Ana, I am. Min Ayuni, who are my eyes? Ana, I am. Min Hayati, who is my life? Ana, I am. She named her firstborn Hayat, while the men smoked cigars in the parlor, and the woman mourned disappointment of a daughter. My grandmother's suitcases are full of coffee-coated cookies and Cadbury dark chocolate fingers. We eat them in her single bed, crumbs tucked in between us, her huge body like a seal, my sister and I on either side, barely covered by the sheet, smiling. She refused to hold her newborn baby, too afraid of the spinal fragility. She takes my sister and me to fancy hotels, Athens, Istanbul, Paris. We order room service every morning, eat as many pastries as we want. She did not play with her daughter. The servants dress, braid hair, drive her, piano lessons, and a tutor after school. Teta teaches us go fish and rummy, blows her silk-cut cigarette smoke like a dragon, and lets us pop the perfect O's her fuchsia lips form. She never told her daughter, Hayat, she was proud of her, not even for her acceptance into Harvard or later for her PhD. Can love skip a generation? She saved her fierce love for her granddaughters, pinched our cheeks, pierced our eyes with adoration. Min Hayati, Ana. You, my mother, told me once when you were a student of archaeology that you lived in the desert and ate only dried dates and drank water from a canister. I imagine you there with the sandstorms and the camels, your dusty skin radiant, smiling to the sun, while the others wilted and whined, hid under blankets, wanting to go home. Your whole life you were digging for pearls of beauty to uncover. Brave, joyful, artist, you, my mother, were life. And then this next poem is my sister's name, which is Nadia. And that's a Slavic name for a girl, meaning hope, and an Arabic name for a girl, meaning moist, tender, or delicate. It's called Twins. My sister swoops down like a bird from the ocean, caresses my wiry hair, and tells me I am beautiful. How long it's been since I felt this warm discomfort, as she fusses, dotes on my children, runs me a rose-scented bath, and brings me her own pajamas to wear. She takes me to the grocery store at 10 at night to indulge in my cravings for biscuits and cereal. Only 2 years older, she always seemed older than that, but now she is soft, so soft, tender with her little sister. We dress up in matching white stripes and dark denim jeans so we can laugh all day as strangers gawk and demand to know, "Are you twins?" Tell us our resemblance is uncanny. Her once golden hair is auburn now, her Polish features faded, so we are no longer divided copies of parents from different lineages. She takes my hand in hers. Identical fingers interlace. Two halves of my mother. We become symmetry of sorrow. We cross the street. And this last one is about my name, Raya, which is spelled R-A-Y-Y-A. Arabic name for a girl, meaning quenched of thirst, source of water. Swimming. You gave me an Arabic name in an Anglo neighborhood, and I would never find a bracelet or a toothbrush with my name already inscribed. Two Y's side by side, spelling it out, hearing why. All I wanted was to be Jennifer or Susan, blonde hair and blue eyes. But you somehow knew before I did that water would be my true home. You somehow predicted that being different would be something I'd always fight for. And now in every source of water, in the oceans, streams, or tidal pools, it is you I swim upstream to greet, like the salmon coming home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thanks to our Cultural Development Officer for organizing that. Next item on our agenda is public participation. So I welcome everyone that's taken time to be here. Is there anyone who would like to speak on a topic or bring something to attention? Okay, we have one. I'll just read the guidelines around this for our public participation portion. City welcomes comments from the public on issues it is dealing with or other issues of interest to the public. Before speaking, please identify yourself, stating your name, place of residence, and the issue you're bringing forward. Please limit your questions or comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Council will not make any decision at this meeting about the issue you raise, but may refer the item to staff for follow-up. Topics raised in this session should be of broad public interest. Complaints of a personal nature will be dealt with by staff through the city's established complaint process. Thanks for taking the time to participate in this city council meeting. So maybe you'd like to come, just one person? Yeah, come on forward and identify yourself. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Brenton Raby. I live at 512 Hendrick Street here in Nelson. Just a brief presentation, such as it might be. Further in the agenda today, you're going to be hearing from staff regarding the cannabis survey results. I'm not here to comment or to provide any additional information because it hasn't even been presented yet, so it's sort of the cart before the horse. My concern is the following. The public participation in the public comment process prior to the enactment of bylaws is a very quick process, oftentimes within the same meeting. It is my hope that council might ask staff to make available the complete survey results, including the stakeholder letters, and also instruct staff to include the public within the draft stages of the bylaws regarding cannabis. The reason I bring this up at this point is, once again, the public comment part prior to the enacting of the bylaw is all in the same meeting. I have noticed as these bylaws are enacted and worked upon, the time to have an influence and to make an impact on those bylaws and on council as a whole is not in that meeting directly before. So my hope is to make a more comprehensive presentation to you regarding the cannabis bylaws when I have more information regarding from the public survey part. So pretty straightforward. I'm here to make no comment on that now, but in the hopes that the broad base of information that staff is using to create the draft bylaws and the draft bylaws themselves be made available for review from people who are interested in that process. So that's it. That's all for now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just the one comment, and that is, this meeting is different than our regular business meeting where we do make decisions and have discussions about bylaws and form the wording on those. So the cannabis bylaw that you mentioned has gone out for review. We're at a committee of the whole where public are going to see it, and we basically have a couple of weeks before it comes back.
Right. So my hope is to get as much of that information as I can. So at a later council of the whole, I can make a presentation and not necessarily be restricted to the public comment part prior to the passing of the bylaws at a regular council meeting.
You know that means another month delay in a bylaw, what you're asking.
Yeah, so, I'm sorry, it involves, all right, I guess to that end then I am unaware and I have not been able to find any reference to the bylaw timeline.
Yeah.
So I can certainly check in with staff later, and my hope again is that council would instruct staff to share this information. And if I have, a means to make an impact, I'll find another way then.
All right. Were there any other comments? Yes.
Just if I could get Ms. Winton to advise how bylaws work and what the process is for public. Just if you give the technical timelines around bylaws and bylaw development.
So typically, staff will spend some time putting together a report with information, background information on a bylaw, and bring it forward to council for first 3 readings, unless it's related to the OCP or zoning, in which case it will come forward for first 2 readings. And council can consider the bylaw at that one meeting. If it's a zoning or OCP, it will go to a public hearing prior to a 3rd reading. And then it can come back to council for final reading. So you can do 3 readings of one bylaw that's not related to zoning or an OCP, official community plan, in one meeting, and then it must wait. It must have 1 full day of rest. Typically, that would be moved to the next regular meeting, business meeting
month away.
for council. So in the following month, and then they can adopt or not adopt that bylaw.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further public presenters, we'll move on to delegations. And our first delegation comes from the Community Energy Association, and Trish Donnell, please. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello all, and thank you for inviting me. I do have a PowerPoint that, it's coming. It's good to be here. I was supposed to be here 2 months ago, but I had an unfortunate mobility accident. I'm glad to have walked here today, so thank you. I'm here to talk about climate leadership and all the great things that's going on in the city of Nelson. First of all, I wear many hats, one of which is I'm an employee of Community Energy Association. We're a nonprofit society that supports the local government Accelerate Climate Action projects.
Can I ask you just maybe pull that mic a little closer? I'm not sure they're hearing on the back.
Okay, you're not picking up. Okay, it's Trish Donnell here, working with Community Energy Association, which is a nonprofit society moving local government to do projects on accelerating climate action. The City of Nelson is a member of CEA, and we're really proud of that, along with other public sector and private sector and association and foundations. And there you go, City of Nelson logo, kind of in the middle there. Happy to see that, along with our other local government members. And then, of course, we have associate members as well, utilities and corporations that help to collaborate and advance the province on a low-carbon future. Wanted to point out that Community Energy Association, we are also privileged to be one of the regional climate advisors for the FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities Partners for Climate Protection. Lots of acronyms, FCM, PCP. And Community Energy Association is the regional climate advisor for British Columbia and the Yukon. So we are available to support you, and I know that the City of Nelson has proudly reached, you're an early adapter with joining the Partners for Climate Protection program, and you have reached milestone 5 in your corporate milestones and 3 in your community, and CEA is available to support moving through those milestones.
Nice.
Another hat I wear, I've been privileged to be the Senior Energy Specialist at the Regional District of Central Kootenay. It's the Climate Action Program that is funded by Fortis BC, and moving some low carbon future energy initiatives forward at the RDCK and the member municipalities, and I'll go through my work plan. Also, just wanted kudos to Nelson. I'm proud to be a resident and former employee. And, Nelson, we hear great things all around the province, and, some of the great things that are going on, including, I pulled a list quickly from the top of my head, but EcoSave program is really well known, and, of course, the Community Solar Garden. So back to my work plan, some of the things at the regional district level, we're looking at policy and program development. I wanted to point out a sustainability checklist that I have drafted. It's kind of not very much white on there, so I'm hoping to sort of reformat it a little bit. But the intention is it's a regional approach. So when people come to the counter at a zoning inquiry, whatever, it's just a piece of paper that helps to educate and inform builders, renovators on what they can do to ensure that their home is energy efficient. We also want to put out a regional approach to the STEP code. I'll talk about that a little more. We love the EcoSave program and hoping to expand it into the regional district for the Fortis and BC Hydro areas of our regional district. Also wanted to point out some of the education opportunities. Some have already happened, but one that we will be giving at the regional district level on July 18th. We're going to talk about STEP code in more detail. Really quickly on the STEP code, it's a sort of a provincial collaborative approach to rolling out and preparing our communities to the building code that in 2032 will require all new buildings to be net zero ready, which means that they use as much energy as they produce by 2032. So to sort of help move the industry along, there have been some steps introduced. And at the regional level, we're hoping to, again, have a regional approach to that. And we're looking at step 1 at this point in time, which is just requiring a energy modeling when you're building a home. I want to point out the City of Kimberley has an incentive program. They're actually in a colder climate area, and they have reported that routinely their builders are building to step 3 and even step 4 already without, or, they do have an incentive program, but it's not that big a step. To just kind of outline what the STEP code is, even step 1, you'd now be using the performance method, which is requiring energy modeling and an air tightness test, and the builders would no longer be following the prescriptive energy requirements. And again, the workshop on July 18th, we can talk more detail about this. Wanted to point out one of the Fortis programs, and of course Nelson Hydro residents are all eligible for Fortis BC programs. There's one that's really important to know for anybody of low income qualified homes. There's a ECAP program, Energy Conservation Assistance Program. This, if you meet that
that table there of your income qualified renters or homeowners, there is an application form that you can complete, and it will allow you to have a free energy assessment, and if they find measures that are required, even a new furnace or replacing an old fridge, they will do that for you for free. And the honorarium program is a new setup with Fortis that nonprofit agencies can sign up with Fortis and actually help support their clients to access this program. And they would actually be given a $25 honorarium to help somebody fill in the application and a little bit more privacy. So that's something I really want to make sure that you are aware of. There are, oh, yes?
Well, I'm just wondering, for income qualified households in Nelson, even though we're not, most of our, we don't use Fortis.
Yes. All Fortis programs are applicable to Nelson Hydro customers.
Yeah.
Nelson Hydro buys a lot of power from Fortis.
Yes. We're all on the same team here. So, yeah, no, and of course there are other, I won't outline, but Fortis has a lot of other conservation programs available. I wanted to, another piece of my work plan is renewable natural gas opportunity. For the city of Nelson, I think potentially at the wastewater treatment plant, there could be an opportunity. I know that you do use the methane produced there. I know it's used to heat the building, but if there was any excess, a great way to get rid of it is to work with Fortis and have a gas upgrading plant, and you can feed that methane gas or whatever's produced directly into the natural gas grid, and it becomes renewable natural gas. So over time, we can replace the fossil fuel-based natural gas with actually renewable natural gas. So one of my work plan projects is to look for sources of renewable natural gas at the RDCK. On the transportation side of things, there were a lot of things I was working on, and I always like active transportation as an important component of transportation and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But and our intention is to promote low carbon transportation solutions and policies. Another one I really wanted to outline to the City of Nelson are the financial incentives for the incremental cost of compressed natural gas vehicles and having a facility fueling equipment site in Nelson. I read in the paper you are, at some point, will have to be upgrading your garbage truck, and so potentially you could look at the compressed natural gas vehicles, and especially if we can partner with BC Transit and the school district and having a compressed natural gas facility in Nelson, that might be an opportunity for you. To finish up, Accelerate Kootenays, which is a it's a very exciting project. So back in 2016, when we started Accelerate Kootenays project, which is a project to provide public electric infrastructure charging stations to the Kootenays. This is what the grid looked like in 2016. Those black dots in there, those are the fast chargers. They only extended to the Okanagan. I like to say you can't get there. You can't get here. You can't get there from here because, and that was one of the reasons we didn't see many electric vehicles in our area. First, as local citizens, we didn't know where to charge them, and we weren't seeing any tourism of electric vehicle drivers. And now, on May 25th, we will be launching the grid. Most of the stations are in, or certainly will be in the summer, and it looks like that. And so we have 3 fast chargers in RDCK, in Creston, Salmo, and Castlegar, and then the level 2s around. And I know City of Nelson will have a level 2 at the Hall Street area, and also you have put in your own at the station.
And Fortis is council supported Fortis installing a fast charging station here at Nelson as well.
That's right, thank you. Yes, the Accelerate Kootenai has, been so successful that it's prompted a new application to BCUC for, a few more of the fast chargers, one being in Nelson, and a couple others. And I also wanted to thank the funders on that one. It was $1.5 million project, the initial Accelerate Kootenais. It was the seed funding leveraged by the 3 regional districts, put in $90,000 collectively, and we accessed $1.5 million from Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Columbia Basin Trust, Fortis BC, and the province. So that was a really successful local collaboration project. Finally, just want to invite you all, if you'd like to get more in depth in what I've been talking about today, we do have a Climate Leadership Institute clinic. It's Friday afternoon after AKBLG in Fernie. I know you'll be tired and maybe your ride's leaving, but I guarantee I will find you a carpool ride home if you'd like to spend the afternoon with us. Just let us know soon if you'd like to come on Friday. That is my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Certainly encouraging what's happening in our region. And any questions?
I know that this community has, as you mentioned at the beginning, Nelson was a front runner in terms of adopting climate change mitigation or adaptation strategies. And we knew that the corporate strategy that we have control over, quite a bit of control over in terms of our own operations, would be fairly streamlined. But we also knew that coming into community and working with the rest of community, where people may or may not have the resources to move forward as quickly, that was going to be crucial. So I really liked the part in your presentation where your organization is going to be helping us with that next level and helping community members move forward as well in doing retrofits and doing those kinds of things. So that was great. Thank you.
Well, great. Thank you for your comment.
Any other questions or comments? I'm hoping someone is able to attend that on the Friday. If not, that maybe we can get the notes and from
I'd
it.
certainly get the notes, but I'll find you a ride home if that's the barrier.
Thank you.
An electric car.
You know what? I'm very proud I'm taking the car share hybrid vehicle to attend those. So, yes.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
I hope it's got good winter tires.
That's great.
Our next delegation is from the Nelson and District Youth Center, and they're going to provide an update on programs and services. Jordan Martin, the manager, and Sarah Miles, the coordinator for the Nelson Youth Action Network. Welcome, and you brought some other staff that maybe you can introduce.
So thank you for having us here today. I'm Jordan, the manager of the Nelson and District Youth Center. I have here Devin Scott. He is our employment counselor, along with Laura Claridge. She's another employment counselor, and Sarah Miles, who is our Nelson Youth Action Network coordinator. Just waiting for the presentation to come up. So we're going to talk today about some of the accomplishments that we've done in 2017 and our goals for 2018. Do I just... Sorry.
While we wait, I can hand this. This is a poster for Nelson Youth Week that's coming up at the end of the month.
Nice.
Take a look. These are the events that got on the poster. There's a few more coming in on the Facebook page if you want to check it out. I'll talk a bit more about it in a moment.
Okay, so first off, we're going to start with the Youth Center 2017 accomplishments. So in 2017, we welcomed the Columbia Basin Alliance for Literacy into our building. They rent out the office space on the main floor. They have been a great asset to the youth center. They're going to bring in a whole new generation of young users, as well as it works out for the employment center on both aspects. They bring us clients, and our clients utilize their services to make them more employable. In 2017, we also introduced the Nelson Tech Club. They are housed up upstairs with us, and they meet every Wednesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. They bring in a whole fresh new set of users, and they utilize the entire center. So we're really happy to have them with us. Also in 2017, we've seen many upgrades to our infrastructure. This included a major washroom renovation, which is warmly welcomed by patrons. A brand new garage door, which saves us money on heating costs in the winter. And it's also remotely accessed from the office, so the staff just have to press the button and it goes up and go down, so we really like it. Also, we put in new LED lighting, which is cost and energy efficient, and people love it. They say they can actually see across the center, so it's a great thing to have. And also, we painted both the inside and the outside of the building, which has given it a fresh new look. Most recently, we painted the multi-purpose room upstairs, and that's utilized through birthday parties, meetings, and other functions. With more advertising, we're going to see those numbers increase. This week, we have the NDCC coming in and using it for a babysitting program, so I'm pretty excited.
I was wondering the capacity of that room. I saw you had it. Do you know?
No.
Okay.
I would say
We had a class of probably 40 students
Yeah.
in there
Okay.
for an employment workshop last spring.
Okay.
It was tight.
with the big desks. So also we have, in 2017, we introduced new programming. So we have a weekly drop-in after-school program called Weekday Warriors, and it's just $10 a day, so it's affordable for all citizens. We also run spring and summer camps. These keep the kids active and engaged during times of school closures, which is great, and it's also very affordable to families at $30 a day. Also today, we're starting a brand new thing. We're opening up at 12:30 for Pro D-Days. So we'll see how that rolls out, and we're just gonna keep continuing it. For 2018, we're gonna focus more efforts on programming, which currently right now we're working on a music program called Melody Mentors, which is gonna be volunteer run. And of course, like always, customer service is number one, which is gonna be a big focus in 2018. And community partnerships. Like I said, we're partnering with a whole bunch of different community organizations, including the NDCC, bringing in their babysitting program, a lot more to come. So that's the update for the youth center. Oh, we also have the homeschoolers that are utilizing the centers every week on Wednesday. So it's kind of part of their rec program, and that's a great asset for us as well. Before I pass things along to Sarah, I just want to say with all these accomplishments and everything that we've worked on, we've seen just in this quarter 3,252 people coming to the center, not including the employment center. So to that, I'll give it to you now. Oh, and here's some photos. So, of course, kids utilizing the art center, the skateboarding ramps, the one guy's up there with the little light, that's the tech club. And then, of course, Seaball with their mother goose, and then, of course, a nice picture of the paint.
So the Nelson Youth Action Network, as you may know, is a Columbia Basin Trust funded project through the city of Nelson. And I'm the coordinator, and I started last year. The project started when I was hired. And the goal is to work collaboratively and actively to build community capacity to increase the quality and quantity of youth programming in the area. From Balfour all the way to South Slocan is kind of my area, and to do that, I am really focusing on listening to what youth are saying they want in the community. So 2017 was a lot of relationship building for me, getting in contact with service providers who already provide programming for youth. There's a lot of youth programming that happens in Nelson already, not so much out on the North Shore or in the Blewett side, and there's a lot of overlapping programming that happens. So part of my goal was to connect those providers and try and make those collaborations. I'll show you a picture of some of the collaborations we did during the year. Also, youth input was a huge part of my year. I did a survey. We had over 160 youth respondents to that survey. Some of the priorities that came out in terms of how they want to be engaged is youth want to be engaged in organizing programming, activities, and events for themselves. They also want to be involved in the planning and decision-making that affects them, as well as diverse arts, culture, and sports programming for them. So those are kind of the key priorities that came out of that survey. And the 5 categories that were broken down from there are wilderness adventure, learning, job skills, social issues, workshops, visual arts, performing arts. So that's where I've gotten the basis of how we've moved forward with programming in 2017. So it was very diverse. And I plan to continue that into 2018, and with the new year, there's a lot more understanding of what the network is and a lot more youth engagement, because a lot of it is about building those personal relationships, one-on-one, being there in the schools, getting to know my face, and it's been a great honor to be part of that process. I'll show you these pictures kind of show some of the diverse things that the Nelson Youth Action Network did this year. In the bottom corner, that was Express Yourself, which is a collaboration with Shaw TV. So there's 2 youth anchors who have interviewed probably 20 youth at this point on what they're passionate about, what they love. And so we've filmed them doing these interviews. So this is a picture of a local youth band. And so they were talking about why they got into music. And then they've also had dancers interviewed, artists, a whole bunch of different things, boxers. Then in the top left-hand corner, there's a bunch of pictures of the mural that was a collaboration with Touchstones and the Heritage Working Group in Nelson. And so, and as well as the Capitol Theatre and SD8, because it's now housed permanently in LVR, but it was for 2 months up outside of the Capitol Theatre, if some of you saw that. But it was a bunch of youth mentored by local artists doing a piece of art that was looking at what it meant to be turning 120 as a city and what it meant to be turning 150 as a country or as Canada, and what that meant in relationship to Indigenous rights to the land and the complications around that. And the Columbia Basin River is very highly featured in that piece of art. And then some of the other things, we did a girls rock climbing intro, archery tag. I just came, yeah, pretty fun.
And it looks like,
Depending on which end you're on.
Big foam tipped arrows. I just came down today. There's a girls' leadership and empowerment retreat that's happening up at Sabota Road on with the Women's Center that I have been collaborating with them. So really excited about moving forward, which also moves us into Youth Week, which is coming up at the end of the month, so April 26th to May 2nd. There's a bunch of different workshops and opportunities, mostly for youth up to the age of 30, some of them. And there's also an opportunity at the end of the week to come and celebrate youth as a community at the Civic Theatre. We're holding the Real Youth Film Festival. And so we're bringing in international youth short films. And then it'll be supplemented by a whole bunch of local submissions from the area of under 19 filmmakers. And it's going to be a gala-style event, and we welcome you all to come, and we'd love to see some of you there. And also moving into the new year, I wanted to say, working with the Youth Center, we've been doing a lot. They've provided a lot of space. Some of those projects are, some of those workshops are actually happening at the Youth Center, but also the Youth Arts Action Committee, who is a group of youth who decided on their project, wrote a grant, got the grant, and we're moving forward with a mural for the outside of the youth center. So that's been a great collaboration between all of us. So yeah, that's the Nelson Youth Action.
We're going to pass it along to the Employment Center now.
All right, so I'm going to speak a little bit about our sort of recent goals and accomplishments at the Nelson Employment Center. I'm Laura. I'm one of the employment counselors there. This year, we focused a lot at the beginning on creating a really robust job fair, which we did in March. It was our second annual job fair following the previous one we had in the fall. It was very well attended both by job seekers and also by employers. We had 19 employers confirmed for our fall job fair and 21 for our winter fair. And we did a survey following the job fair with our employers, and almost all of them said that it was very productive for their business and that they would definitely return to our next one. So we were really thrilled about that. It was also a great chance for many of our job seekers in town to connect with great employers. Some people were hired on the spot. A lot of employers said they had a lot of great resumes to follow up with for their work in the spring. So we're excited about that. I'm going to hand it over a little bit to Devin to talk about the stats on our usage, and then I'll talk a little bit more about our some of our employment programs.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Devin Scott. I'm one of the employment counselors at the Nelson Youth Employment Center. I think, and thanks to the hard work of my colleagues with the career fairs and getting out our voice out there on social media and just the networking with the youth, we've really seen a great increase in the amount of youth we've seen come in through the doors, both as using our self-serve area and as people who are on our current caseloads. In 2017, we had 71 clients have their cases closed, with 61% of them ending in a positive outcome. And in the same year, we had 74 open client cases supporting our services. So with 74 last year, for the entire year, this year we currently have 40 open cases, and that's just in this first quarter. Not all youth who come to our office meet our criteria for employment counseling. That said, we do offer a self-service area where everyone is welcome to come in and access computers to print resumes and to make edits. And we also have a job board that people can come and see what kind of local employers are hiring. And in 2017, we had 142 drop-ins utilizing our self-serve area. And so far this quarter alone, we've had 71. So that's a really great increase. And I think through our social media and just networking with our community members, we can really utilize this space and hopefully get more youth coming in and provide more great services. Thank you.
And as a final note on an update to our employment services, I wanted to speak a little bit about job development and customized employment, which is my particular portfolio at the Employment Center. So customized employment and job development services are an integral part of the employment program of BC. They provide more intensive supports for people, and in this case youth, who have higher barriers to employment. Sometimes a disability, sometimes systemic barriers, and sometimes other factors that make it more difficult for these youth to integrate into the working world. So these services are a very well-funded and very essential part of EMC, and we were really happy that we were able to integrate them as of 2017, and moving into 2018, this is a part of our focus that is very important to us. I think all of us at the Employment Center can say pretty strongly that we believe that anyone who wants to work is capable of contributing to their communities in a meaningful way, and we provide the supports that often enable people to do that. Part of the work is those providing that one-on-one employment counseling to these job seekers, creating a profile for them, discovering not only what their strengths are, what their experiences are, but also really what they want to do, figuring out what they're motivated to do. And then creating a realistic portfolio of what we're looking for in the job market. The other part of it is creating really great relationships with supportive employers, because we're going to be working with employers closely and helping these people to integrate into the working world. And the third part of it is creating partnerships with other community organizations. So sometimes those are other community services. We work with the school district a lot because part of our mandate is to work with grade 12 students who have a diagnosed disability to help them integrate or transition into the working world. And I thought today I would share one of our success stories. This is my client, Arrow. He's in the lower left-hand corner. You can see him proudly standing beside his canoe. Arrow was one of the first clients I met when I began working at the Employment Center. And he had very little experience. He had worked as a dishwasher for about a year. But after a thorough assessment, together we agreed that he was really being underutilized in the workforce. He was a really capable, bright person. And he was very interested in a job where he could work with his hands, where he could build something, and where he could really create something that was more of a long-term career as opposed to something that was more of a short-term necessity. So we worked with a local employer who is Hellman Canoe and Kayaks, who build canoes from scratch. sort of paired the two of them up. The employer and the client got along really well. We got a wage subsidy so that the employer could provide some extra training that this client didn't have. And my update is that Arrow is thriving in this position. His employer is thrilled with him, and he has really carved out a niche for himself that is going to turn into a long-term career. So I tell this story because this is ultimately what we're trying to do for some of the most vulnerable youth in our community. And our goal ultimately is to help kids like Arrow to be able to change, to make the big changes they need to do to create kind of sustainable working futures. I'm going to pass it back to Jordan. He's going to give you a little update on the campground.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you a brief update on the campground. So in 2017, we seen increased usage. People are also dropping in during the day to have some picnics, utilizing the showers. We saw increased revenues with a surplus of $80,000. And to add, we hired one of our employees from our Skills Link program from the Youth Employment Center, and he did an excellent job. It was a win-win situation for everyone, so that was something that was we're really proud of. In 2018, goals, of course, to enhance customer experience. We want to make the place warm and welcoming, adding some flowers, really making people want to come back to use the campground again in future terms. Youth employment, we're done the hiring process for everyone at the campground. Everyone that is hired has been between the ages of 15 and 25, so that's something that we're especially proud of. And we want to, right now we're working on upgrades to the platforms, hopefully making some barriers just so that people know like there's a drop-off point. And community promotion, I'm going to be working with Nelson Kootenay Lake Tourism to really put the campground on the map this year. That's it for our presentation today. And here's some photos of the campground, just to kind of show you. So the campground, the platforms, we're hoping to have some railings put up.
Thank you. You certainly covered a lot. Council, comments or questions?
Just a comment on the platforms. Our relatives stayed there a few years ago, and they were rolling down to the bottom of their tents because the tents were pitched on a slope. So it's really great to see the platforms got in.
Yeah. Nicely done.
Good.
That's great.
Any other?
Just a couple of things, if I can, Acting Mayor. So as council knows, we've had quite a bit of transition through the youth center, and again, Sarah was the manager, and so we've now got Jordan. I don't think we actually introduced Jordan as the new manager of the youth center. So please, it's been great to invite her. I think she's the longest tenured employee now at the, and I think that she's been with us about 18 months. I'm going to say 2 years might be a lot. So, but what I am seeing from my side is sort of a continuation from where Sarah, well, actually from Paula Kiss, from getting us going on the campground and then wanting to have summer programs, and then Sarah carried that on as well, and we had a really successful March, and we really want to, and we had a lot of feedback from parents, especially because many of the programs through the NDCC get filled up really quickly, and so our goal is to get back to the people that came, and we had a very successful, like I said, March break camps to get our summer camps going. It's something that we did last year as a test basis, and I think that we're refining it as we go through. The biggest piece for me is that I'm seeing, and I'm really appreciative, is the now sort of almost full day usage of that space. We naturally know that when we've got the youth employment counselors working there, that they are there usually your 9 to 5 kind of hours. But now that we've got Seaball in there, now that we've got other users such as the homeschoolers, and again, there's other opportunities that we're seeing to try to make sure that it is available and used as much as possible. We're really starting to see the numbers increase again, as you were talking about, that space being available, and again, through Jordan's work on promoting that to have more, I guess, corporate users almost sort of thing. And again, just again with the tech club and all the job fairs, we're just seeing a lot more people coming in. And I think before where there might have been, well, wait a second, I'm not a skateboarder, I'm not wanting to come to this location. That's not the case anymore. And so we're really starting to see that transition. It's taken longer maybe than some would have liked, but we're really seeing them not only be successful in doing that, but also being more self-sustaining, which I think is really important for, for council, because we are always good stewards of the money that we have. And any time that we can say, hey, we've got this great building, we've got great work going on, and again, it's also helping to facilitate itself through revenues. That's a real benefit to the community. It'll be interesting to see as the future goes on here, and we look at the potential for housing on top of that building as well, and how that all kind of matches with all the priorities that council is looking for.
Thank you.
The other thing to note is, I think Jordan pointed out that we're a unique model in not only British Columbia, but Canada as well, and it's one that's supported by council and has been super successful. You know, the campground piece really came out of the fact that we used to let a contract to a private individual company to run that campground on our behalf, and former manager Christine Smith at the time said, what if we took it over and we could, you know, be we would call these self-generating revenues, so social enterprise business, and again, super successful. It's been upgraded. It's got way better usage, et cetera, et cetera. So when we give those opportunities, you know, to our own folks, supported by council, you know, we do some pretty cool things. And then another probably thing that puts Nelson on the map as being unique and delivering an exceptional service.
Yeah, I also talked with staff at the campground, and they said that they would like to see more of a concession there. So offering coffee, dishwashing, soap. So that's something that I'm just thinking about right now, how I'm going to roll it out. So we'll see how that goes. I'll let you guys know.
Any other, I had a couple of questions. One was, did you track for the job fair, how many youth came in and went through? I was pretty impressed, 19 employers were there.
Oh, so the first one, no, we didn't track the numbers because it was just an in and out. For the second one, though, with the 21 employers, I believe we had upwards to about 300 people in and out of the door.
Yeah,
so, yeah, it was a great event. And like I said, lots of employment connections were made and people were walking away with jobs. So, yeah.
We had around 60 students from Mount Sentinel at the first job fair, and then there was 3 LVR classes that came down for the second job fair, and then a bunch of the grade 12s came down and independently on their own, and then there was a lot of adults as well at the second.
All right. The other question I had for you, Sarah, was with the Youth Action Network, there's a manager, isn't there, for the whole Columbia Basin for that? And is there any planning for any collaboration with the other Youth Action Network groups?
Yeah, so Mike Kent is the kind of Basin Youth Action Network coordinator, and he's based out of Rossland, and we, as coordinators, have the opportunity to work amongst ourselves when we can. And I know that Caslow and East Shore, we were invited, but Nelson can't make it this time. But there's a sleepover and a bunch of youth doing some healthy action kind of stuff up in Meadow Creek next weekend. So we work together when we can. And also coming up first weekend of May in Kimberley, I'm taking 5 youth and a chaperone to Kimberley for a youth leadership summit that the Columbia Basin Trust has organized. So there'll be 4 or 5 youth from every single community, so 28 communities in the Columbia Basin, who will be there along with a whole bunch of adults that work with youth, and we'll be collaborating there, which will be exciting.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Certainly nice to hear that it's getting used as much as
Yeah.
it is. And all the variety of things there.
Sort of interested about this archery thing. It could be our next training kind of session. Afraid I get shot too.
City team building.
Exactly.
Our next delegation is regarding the recreation cannabis public engagement, and staff is going to make a presentation on the results of that. Our Development Services Manager, Director, right. Director of Development Services, Pam Moreau, thank you.
Where's it? Yep. Oh, this one.
I hope we get some money back from this.
So the other question, is that how that guy got his name?
Thanks,
Arrow?
Sarah.
Tag, Arrow?
You got the job.
Okay, so I thought that today I would do a quick presentation on the results from the public engagement strategy that we've undertaken for this. And then I'd like to get into some discussion around some specific components to help us with bylaw development. And specifically, those 4 separate areas are, you know, do we want a separation distance and do we want a cap on the number of stores? We need to talk a bit about public consumption, about operating hours, and growing on private property. So in terms of the public engagement strategy, we sent out feedback forms to every household in the city as well as to every storefront business. So about 5,000 households, I think 680 or so businesses that we sent feedback forms to. We received back, I think, just over 1,700, 1,750, something like that. So it was a really great response rate. We were overwhelmed. We were not quite sure what we were going to be happy with, but I'm thinking around 700 or 800. So that was great. We also did 4 open houses. We did 8 stakeholder group meetings where we had over 50 people attend those meetings, and we've received back 12 stakeholder letters in regards to this. We had 3 information booths. We went to Whitewater, Kootenay Co-op, and to the mall. We set up web pages where we provided information on the legalization process. We provided information on the roles of the various levels of government, as well as public engagement activities and how people could get involved and provide us with their feedback. We also put web pages up early on in the process, information sessions, council and media. As well, we did ads in the Nelson Star. I think we put in 10 total, just giving people some basic information on the legalization process, as well as how they could get involved and give us their feedback. So, in terms of what we heard from stakeholders, Nelson Police Department said, limit the number of stores and no public consumption in the downtown. They also said they'd like to see 300 meters separation distance between stores. Chamber of Commerce, again, limit the number of stores and no public consumption in the downtown. Similarly, Nelson Community Services, same thing, limit the stores and no public consumption in the downtown. Kootenay Lake Medical Staff, limit the number of stores as well as the location. And the Hume Parents Advisory Committee was no public consumption. In terms of what other governments are doing, I'm just giving you this so you kind of get a sense of where we're going with all of this. So in Denver, they came up with 300 meters between stores as well as 300 meters between sensitive facilities and stores. So parks, playgrounds, schools. Vancouver, same thing. Vancouver did a lot of research into what was going on in the States, and so they came back and they've pretty much set up the same thing, that 300 meter separation distance. Calgary, again, is a 300 meter separation distance. They're going 150 meters from sensitive facilities, and they are proposing no public consumption. So that hasn't been finalized yet, but that's where they're going. Edmonton is 200 meters between locations, 200 meters from parks, playgrounds, and schools, and 100 meters from community centers. They're also looking at no public consumption. Of course, the province of Ontario is no public consumption. So in terms of what we heard from the feedback forms, top 3 areas of concern were the youth access to cannabis, public smoking and vaping, and odors. Should there be a maximum number of cannabis retailers? Overwhelming majority said yes, please limit the number of retailers. Operating hours, 35% said same as liquor stores from 9 to 11, 31%, so similar for the hours that we have currently for medical cannabis, which is 8 till 8. 16% said shorter hours. Should people be able to grow it outside on their private property? 43% said yes. 22% said yes, but not near the property line. 23% no, only inside. So basically, yeah, wherever. But the province has already said that plants can't be visible from public spaces off the property. So if I'm on my sidewalk, I can't look into your backyard and see plants growing. So we need to think about whether we're good with that or whether we want to put in place more restrictions. In terms of the number of stores, this was very interesting. I was really interested in all of the results that we got back because they provided really clear results for us, which I was really happy to see. So the majority of people said in the downtown, anywhere between no stores and 3 stores. And in terms of the highest number of responses, people said 2 stores is what we should have in the downtown. Nelson Ave and Highway 3A, between no stores and 2 stores, with the highest response being 1 store in that area. Industrial area and Lakeside, no stores to 2. 0 stores was the highest number of responses. Railtown, 0 to 2 stores, with 1 store is the highest response. And the mall, people said no stores was the highest response. Interesting. But overall, 4 stores is what people were thinking about. How far should the stores be from sensitive facilities? 45% said more than 5 blocks apart, so more than 500 meters. 27% said between 3 and 5 blocks, so between 300 and 500 meters. Are you interested in starting a business? So 87% said, no, we're not interested. 7% said they're not sure, and 3% said they're interested. But that 3% is 56 people. 7% is 133. So we're looking at upwards of 200 people who said they're either interested or potentially interested. Should we follow the clean air bylaw? 62% said yes, and 34% said no, it should be more restrictive. Again, 59% said they strongly agree that it should be banned in all public places. For lounges and cafes, 32% said they somewhat agree that they should be allowed. 29% said they strongly agree they should be allowed. Again, this isn't something that's on the table right now. Province has said, after we get this legalization done, they will look at that as the next step. The city should have the resources to enforce smoking cannabis in public. 40% said yes, we strongly agree. The city should have those resources in place. In terms of supporting legalization, 43 strongly support, 30% somewhat support. So there is lots of support out there for that. So that's kind of the overview of the feedback forms and the stakeholder letters. So now we can get into those 4 areas that I talked about that we need some direction from you in terms of how to move forward in developing the bylaws. So as we saw from the results, people said the strongest support was for 500 meters apart. 45% said more than 5 blocks apart from sensitive facilities. So, first option in terms of separation distance and our number of stores, we said 500 meters from sensitive facilities, and we put in there 300 meters between cannabis stores, because that's what the police department said, and when we looked around at other areas, that's what they were all doing. So we just have put that in. Again, these are just some options for you to think about. We can go anywhere with this. So that's option number 1, and when we look at that on a map, that's 500 meters. So there's not a lot of space in our commercial areas for that one to work.
That's right.
So I'll just let you think about that one. Let's move on to option number 2. So again, the next highest response rate was for 300 meters between retailers and sensitive facilities. And I've left in there the 300 meters between cannabis stores. So that's what that one looks like. Now, there's just maybe half a block on Baker Street that's available still, a little bit on Vernon, and a little bit in Railtown that would be available. That's what we go with. So again, not a lot of options there. So I've given you all those maps in your package there.
Yep.
So the third option is maybe we look at 150 meters from sensitive facilities. And again, keeping the 300 meters between cannabis stores. So that opens it up quite a bit. So you've got probably from Ward Street west into Railtown available. CP's got lots of land available. The mall, and you've got some spots there on Nelson Ave. Just looking at that, that gives you, if you weren't going to do anything else, if you were just going to say 150 meters from sensitive facilities and 300 meters between stores, that would give you approximately 9 stores.
So some
9
options.
store locations.
Sorry, 9 locations. Yeah.
9 locations, yeah.
So that's the third option. The
fourth option is similar. We stay with the 150 meters from sensitive facilities, 300 meters between stores, but we put an overall cap on it because that's what people said. We only want to see 4 stores. So if I go back to this, yeah, again, that's an option. And the final option is you put a cap on of 4 stores, but you do it based on what people said. So they said 2 in the downtown, 1 along Nelson Ave, and 1 in Railtown. So if I go back to here, they said, yeah, 2 in downtown, 1 along Nelson Ave, and 1 in Railtown. So you could do that as well. Other options I've heard are none on Baker Street. Any of those options hitting you more than the others?
Well, I don't think this is, I think people are going to have to mull these around, but.
But I think that if there's some comments,
Oh, for
it'd be helpful.
If
I think
there's any
Valerie
other
had a
options
comment,
you'd
Chair.
like to see?
Well, Chair?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You know, the idea of limiting it to 4 stores when clearly we have essentially 7 functioning currently that there is demand for. To reduce it even more, I mean, to me, that's kind of capping free enterprise in the community. If there's a market for more, I understand that we don't want to get excessive, but I do think we need to open it up enough to meet the demand that exists.
Sure, go ahead.
Good point. My comment around that as well is that, around the number of stores, is that we were one of the only communities, well, we are, besides Rossland, that allowed some stores to open before it was legalized. And I'm anticipating that, you know, there will be bylaws created in Castlegar and Trail and in other communities as well. So that may take off some of the regional demand because it's not just our own, you know, within the city of Nelson residents who are using the services or buying the services. But the other thing that I recall from when we first started to develop this bylaw is that because of the compactness of our downtown, to have 500 meters or 300 meters between stores just wasn't, it was impossible because we have a very compact land base. So that's another thing that I think we need to really, really consider and think about how we balance that, how we, what the distance regulations will be. But yeah, thanks. It's good to hear from the community about what they think.
The other thing to keep in mind is they will be allowed in the rural areas as well.
Correct.
There'll be, sounds like some distancing from larger centers. Similar, I think somewhat similar to how they do alcohol, that you have to have a certain amount of community base and you have to be a certain distance away from another community to, you know, to, because you're not close enough to, you know, to necessarily conveniently travel into that other community. So that's going to come out in the provincial regulations, but it's certainly anticipating that there will be these allowed. They didn't want to see, you know, no access to legalized non-medical cannabis in the rural, you know, non-municipal boundaries.
Thank you.
Councillor Sherbill.
Yeah, I agree with the mayor on what she said, and then there is no, how to put it, there's no way that a medical marijuana store could sell legal marijuana? Is that what the regulations are?
They need to get there's no legal sales of medical cannabis at a retail level. Again, it's only available mail order. A non-medical one could apply, and then a current medical one could apply for a provincial license to sell non-medical cannabis, but they have to go through the licensing process.
So in keeping to the question that we're sort of being asked, any other comments on that? Well, I think we did have that discussion, I agree, around 300 meters between dispensaries, but shortened to 150 meters between sensitive facilities
Mhm.
because of the condensed nature of our town, which is the only map that shows any area. The other ones are sort of pretty limited as far as where it would go. So I'm thinking 150 meters from sensitive areas, which provides a little bigger area potentially for any other discussion on that question.
And again, this isn't the decision-making
No, it's just to have
process,
some
so
discussion.
give some thought, and, you know, I think Pam and her team wants to throw this information out, give you a chance to mull on it a bit, even think of, you know, what do you want to take out to the public as options?
Mhm.
Because, you know, we spent a great deal of time hearing from the public and got a tremendous response rate.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think realistically, there could be a couple options you could send out if, you know, I think everyone sees 500, you would have no stores. So
Yeah, right.
that's probably not one that is even worth putting on the table. But the ones that kind of fit together with what you saw in the public feedback is certainly, I think, a few options are reasonable to take back out.
Councillor Sherbo.
Just another thing we should note, that growing marijuana in somebody's backyard could be an animal attractant.
That's a question coming down the road, right? Feedback? Or are we done?
No, we're not done.
No.
No, that's
And,
right. Yes. We are coming to that.
This one, right?
Mayor Kozak?
The other element that you spoke about was consumption in public places. So there's some strong feedback around some people wanting none, some people saying, well, maybe, and there was really strong support for the smoking bylaw. And I think that's something council has to consider, and we have to consider where people, we're even looking at cigarette smoking, or other kinds of smoke. So
I think
that's
those questions are coming up.
Sorry,
If you
I'm
give-
just-
Oh, okay,
We're just
thank you.
Talking the distancing.
We were just on this one, so this
And-
one first, the 5 options. And so in my mind, I think option 1, and what I'm hearing from you is that option 1 and option 2 probably aren't going to work. That it's really something between 3, 4, and 5 that we potentially will be looking at. Is there any other options that you'd like me to look at? Anybody think of anything? If you do, just let me know and I will go there. Okay.
Just
Oh,
one,
comment.
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, I don't want to be too prescriptive about where they have to be. I mean, people have to find locations to rent, to have a business and whatnot. So, you know, we have to be able to allow them to have some leeway as to where they are.
And just for clarification, I also want to say, you know, we're just having this discussion, of course, but our city manager, not only being the city manager and interest in this, but also is a rep on the provincial, what's the name of the committee?
The joint committee.
Joint committee, I made him say it. To look at cannabis regulations in the province. So we have the benefit of having a provincial committee member that is looking at the regulations that is helpful in this. So we appreciate that.
Great. Okay, I'll move on to the next one, which is public consumption. So again, if I just take you back to the results, 62% said it should follow the clean air bylaw. So we can stick with that, or we can say, we can get more restrictive and say no public consumption anywhere. And again, there was strong support for that. Now, if I take you to the clean air bylaw, if you look at the yellow locations as well as the pink, so based on the clean air bylaw regulations, that's a 7 meters from public entrance and not near any any parks. This is basically what you would get, is the pink and the yellow. We've spoken with Public Works and they've said probably the yellow locations are the best locations because that's where we could put signage in place. We could put something, a receptacle for the cigarette butts. We could potentially put a bench there. So basically with the clean air bylaw, you could get 3 locations.
What are they? So just so you can,
Sure. So this one is right across, this is a Savoy, sorry, I'm thinking you can see my, oh, you can, okay.
Yeah, we can
So
now.
this one is right by the Savoy, right across the street from the Savoy, right in the corner of that vacant lot.
okay.
This one is just in front of the Kerr site on Victoria Street. And this one is right in front of the Inventor, the liquor store there on Vernon.
So they're the 3 areas that meet the criteria for Clean Air Act.
They do,
For-
as well as do all these pink ones, but just from Public Works perspective, these seem to be the best ones,
Okay.
the yellow ones.
Ranked.
The vacant lot is private, is it not?
on the sidewalk, so not on private property. And that may not be such a great location if it gets developed in the near future.
So one of the criteria that staff looked at was, can we create spaces that, you don't have to, if someone's smoking, you don't have to walk through their smoke, so can we get off the sidewalk, not right in the middle of the sidewalk? Can we install a bench? Can we install proper places to dispose of your cigarette butts, those type of things? Clearly, having someone smoking tobacco and someone smoking cannabis in the same spot is going to create some potential challenges. So you're going to have to look at that as, the challenge with cannabis is has quite an odor to it, and that's just a unique thing of cannabis, unfortunately. And I think it's really the smoking piece that's the concern. I think vaping doesn't have that same challenge, so I don't know, maybe differentiate between smoking and vaping. I'm not sure if that's a viable alternative.
Vaping's covered under our no smoking bylaw.
No, it is. These locations would meet the no smoking bylaws. Locations, they're 7 meters from, an entrance, a window, all those things, right? That's why there's a limited number.
Councillor Warmington.
I guess when I think about, getting people off of Baker Street and moving along rather than sitting there and smoking and whatever, I guess I had envisioned having an opportunity to send people to somewhere fairly nice where there's a park and a bench and you can sit down and have a cigarette, for people who still smoke. I don't know if that possibility exists, but...
Well, it doesn't work with the clean air bylaw because you can't be in a park.
You can't designate a park as a smoking
park
space?
Well, we could change our bylaw.
On the dog walk.
So any park right now, under your clean air bylaw, you cannot smoke, and that concern was being around children and smoking, right?
But if there was a park that was designated specifically for that purpose, so that when we tell people, I'm sorry, you can't smoke downtown, you can say, but there's this space over here where if you'd like to go and have a cigarette, you can.
Yeah, what we are trying to do within those current limitations is finding locations that are, like I said, would have a proper bench and hopefully under a tree and not, as much as we can. So it is quite restrictive at this stage. We tried to get locations that were at least within reasonable walking distances for people, and but it's we have a lot of dense buildings on our storefronts, so it's hard to even the laneways you can't, because air vents, windows, doorways, all those things.
And I certainly do understand that. I'm just thinking that if we want to encourage compliance, that we kind of have to meet people halfway, I think, or we're going to struggle with that.
My thinking is, looking at that map, 3 locations might be limited and you're going to have a tough time getting compliance. So I'd be looking at those pink ones and saying, is there another 3, particularly on Baker Street where a lot of our public are walking through, and you can direct them that it's not 3 or 4 blocks, that it's closer. And I think there was a couple of spots in there.
And again, all those locations, someone can smoke there.
Someone
right now.
can smoke there now.
Yeah, because they meet your bylaw.
Yeah, but we were talking about designating them as areas, and so the yellow ones are just for,
So we put up signage.
and the yellow ones would be just for cannabis? Is that what the idea was?
No,
Oh.
smoking.
Oh, smoking,
So what we're
okay.
saying here is all those, the yellow and the pink, you can smoke
Okay,
right now, because they meet your bylaw.
right.
The 3 yellow ones, we're saying we'd, put a bench and proper place to get rid of your to
Would you,
butts or something. So we could look at expanding the number of, I guess, maybe for a bit, lack of a better word, formalized places where you can smoke.
not a bench, but a sign and a receptacle for the butts. And the other, on the argument or the discussion around the smell, I don't know if the Clean Air Act differentiates between pipe smoking or cigars or anything else, and I'm not sure that it's that much different.
Yeah.
A smell, you start to differentiate between that. I don't see why you would.
Yeah.
Did we look at the alleyways at all?
They're there and
They don't need it because, again, you have ventilation systems in the alleyways, you have doorways, you have windows.
Yeah.
So we did look at the window alleys, and they didn't work.
Any other comments on where it is legal to smoke? Any more direction? Okay.
Okay. So hours of operation, again, it was kind of evenly balanced between liquor stores as well as medical cannabis. So 9 to 11 or 8 to 8.
9 to 11.
Comments?
I think,
Councillor
it-
Cherbo?
I think it should be the same as the hours of liquor stores, and then it's common knowledge.
And finally, growing on private property. So we could just stay with provincial regulations, or we could get more restrictive. And the provincial regulations basically say that it can't be seen from public spaces off the property.
Mayor Kozak.
You know, on this one, just because people can doesn't mean they will.
Mhm.
And I think that why don't we just see how it goes? And if it's not visible from the street, and if people abide by that, and we don't have any problems with it, then let's leave it be. But again, I just don't think we're going to have a whole rash of people backyard growing, or maybe I'm mistaken. Because it's not. It's
already are.
I would argue that a lot of people are gonna grow. That's one of the biggest concerns they have
Okay.
currently in the literature that I've been reading, is that they see that more people will be growing.
Is that right? Okay. And because it saves the cost, but it's a bit of an art, isn't it? Like you just don't grow that easily and get the product
Well,
that.
the stuff coming in the municipal news was all about the issue of that for municipalities and whether or not they're growing indoors or
Yeah.
outdoors, and all of the risk that comes with
Okay.
having hydroponics and.
Oh, right.
Councillor Warmington.
I would agree with Mayor Kozak. I think, let's see how it goes. Why put in restrictions when we don't have a problem per se as yet? And I think that if we start getting complaints because,
Yeah.
the smell or whatever, then I think that's the opportunity to reconsider.
Councillor Sherbo.
Well, the other question is, should it be fenced? So that, like if you got a backyard that doesn't have a fence around it, the kids could walk in there and pick up what they wanted for their own use. So maybe it should be restricted in that way, that it's fenced in somehow, or in a greenhouse.
Would it
Yeah, and not visible, likely you'd need a fence. You might have a tree wall, but or a hedge or something, but you're gonna need some type of barrier, otherwise you're gonna be able to see it from the public space.
Okay.
We got height restriction on it.
Not anymore.
It grows like a weed.
Yeah, I think they eliminated it. So remember, there's a maximum of 4 plants that you can grow.
I've seen plants 6 feet high.
Yeah. So remember, it's a maximum of 4 plants. Certainly the feedback is that 4 plants shouldn't be an odor problem. I think the one that you might deal with more is when people are smoking in their backyard and the nuisance complaints that we're sure to get. Certainly, again, at the provincial level, we're talking about making sure the penalties for growing more than 4 plants are
Yeah.
sufficient, that people are strongly discouraged from
But isn't that
growing.
federally regulated? I'm sorry, or provincially?
4
I mean?
plants are.
Like that's
But the
yeah.
penalties, the province will put in the penalties.
Sure they will. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They can, I think you can get charged criminally if you're over the 4 plants, but again, it's who's gonna take someone through the criminal courts for having 6 plants. So we're proposing, similar to, things like alcohol, there's administrative penalties that discourage people from growing more than they should be growing. And so we have to see what that is.
Is it our bylaw that would be responding to complaints? Or
Well,
police?
right now, we have to see what the province does. So there's federal legislation, and the province adopted the 4 plant rule. It's what penalties that they have associated with that. So local governments can put on bylaws as well, and the likelihood is we're gonna get the majority of the complaints on that, even though it's a provincial regulation. So again, how does that enforcement work? I would say we're probably gonna deal with the public consumption piece, the growing in your own yards, the neighborhood complaints. And one of the things that we're looking at is potentially bringing in this good neighbor bylaw in conjunction with you know, that's been on council's sort of list of potential bylaws, but bring that in with that. Because, for example, there's no restrictions from, if there's public consumption, and I go and sit on Pam's Front Boulevard and, you know, smoke cannabis there all day, there's nothing we can really do about that. So more on that good neighbor thing, if I sit across from the school, those things. So I think that's the way we want to look at it, is, you know, just be neighborly. Right? If you're walking down the street, fair enough, but if you're camped out at someone's front yard, maybe that's not okay.
So anything else on that, or what's the
Nope,
next?
so that's that one. In terms of next steps, May 1st, we're having an open house at the Adventure Hotel.
At the Adventure Hotel?
Yep, so we'll be having boards. It'll be a drop-in format. We'll have boards up so people can kind of look at some of the slides that I showed you. We would also like to present a draft bylaw, or potentially that's a little bit optimistic. Maybe we'll just talk about some scenarios about where we could go based on the results. Then in May, we'd like to take it to the Advisory Planning Commission, and then, again, maybe optimistic, but we'd like to do first and second reading in June with public hearing and final in July.
Okay.
So that we're potentially ready for an August legalization date.
That's great. I'm gonna be ahead of that.
Was that we looked at all four you wanted to look at?
Yep, those are them.
And any other feedback that you have for Pam and her team on the survey results, or
Yes, that would be
any other
great.
thoughts that you may have?
Yeah.
Just
Anything that
fire
we
on
haven't
the
thought
floor, Ted.
about, any directions that you'd like us to do a bit of research on, that would be great.
Were there any interesting comments scribbled in the margins of the surveys you got back that were thought provoking? And
So we haven't had time to go through the scribbled in the margins, but there were some for sure.
So the stakeholder letters was raised. I mean, they're not included in ours.
No, so the intent was that we're going to put everything up on the website, so all of the raw data is going to go up on the website here.
Okay.
Probably tomorrow or
So
the day
that's not
after.
private, that's going to be public
Yep,
information?
So those will all
Okay.
go up as well. So the raw
Okay.
data from the feedback forms, the stakeholder letters, all of it will go up on the website this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully May 1st have a proposed bylaw of some sort, or?
Probably options.
I think
Options,
options
yeah.
is probably more where we'll get to.
All right.
Okay.
Any other questions of Director of Development Services on this topic? We can always forward what other things if we see things
Yes,
to you.
good. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thanks.
Thanks for that. And great job to Mr. Toom. Did a great job on organizing this survey, so thank you so much.
That completes our delegations.
No.
We are now at the CBT Community Initiatives Program Grants Adjudication. So if you want to turn your,
Maybe we can have a short break so we can print out the.
Absolutely. What council has is the,
Get a bigger one?
yeah, we'll take a short break. Do I have a motion to take a 5-minute recess? Thank you, Councillor Morrison and Turbo.
That's not smoking.
In total. 5 people that voted to fund that, and in this case, it was all 1,000, so the recommendation was 1,000. That, it's also part of the arts and culture, so it doesn't matter. But on the other ones that aren't, we're gonna get a sheet with the average or the mean?
The mean and the total.
The mean and the total, because what happened is, when we've done it the way it is done now, the recommendation is the highest number, and on that first sheet that you had on this one, which left us with still over 300,000, and we got to get down to 145. So that still take us down fairly quickly.
Actually, with the mean, you're pretty close.
Yeah?
I think you have some money to spend.
All right.
Oh, well.
So I'd like to bring this, we're going to get a copy of that back in a minute. So return and
The camera's on.
reconvene the meeting.
Bang the gavel.
And the next item of business is the 2018 CBT Community Initiative Program funding and adjudication of those numbers. And big thanks to CBT for providing those funds that we're able to do this and support all the initiatives that have come forward in this process. Yeah, we had some 71 applicants.
Yeah.
And 350 odd thousand in requests that we've got to get to 145. That's the plan.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yes.
One thing I did notice that on this sheet right now for the starting point is that in some but not all, we have the arts jury recommendation is in the, you'll see that in the blue titled column there.
Oh,
They didn't all come over into that starting point, and it may have been, I don't know if it's just something that we didn't do, or, so again, Kevin, you were thinking that maybe we have money to spend because we're at 133, but I'm seeing a couple here, like, right now I'm seeing that the arts jury has recommended 2,500, but we have not put that in this column here, so I just wanted to make sure that we're do
So,
that, I guess.
I'm looking for a little bit of direction from staff on what's going to be easiest. Do we want to do the arts and culture adjudicated piece, what's been recommended for us, and go through that piece first? And
that might be helpful.
Okay, and has that number that they came up with match that sector?
In the column that says arts jury recommendation, it does. So
Okay.
they've allotted 36.5 and they have 36.5 there.
Okay, so if you look on your sheets, you stay with the big sheets, the three big sheets in front of you, and in the blue column right in the middle of that, what we're suggesting is let's go through the juried recommendation, compare it to what we recommended, and I think we can tick them off and maybe get through that piece and then deal with the rest.
Yeah, that'll allow us to, if you want to go with their recommendation, allow us to update this sheet, and then you'll know where you're at. Exactly.
And Joy, did you have anything you wanted to add or anything?
Well, I'm really just here to answer any questions that people might have, or, you know,
Okay.
or explain some of the jury's decisions that we did.
Everyone knows Joy Barrett, our cultural development, arts
Who are you?
officer. So there was three people that were appointed to adjudicate the arts. and- Five, okay. And you were part of that process, or?
Well, I chair the jury, I don't have a vote.
Okay, you chaired the jury, and here are their results, so let's go through those.
All right.
So starting with number one on your first sheet, the Corazon Youth Choir, number one, request $1,000, jury recommendation $1,000, and it had five counselors or members, council members, each recommending 1,000. So we're okay with that?
Good to go.
Yes?
Yes.
What are you giving him, 1,000?
Yes. I'll say, are we good to go, or yes, and I'll hear if there's any concerns with it. Arts, Health, Arts, and Society, next one down, request 3,000, jury recommended 3,000. The council, did you do medians on those as well? And do I have that yet?
Yeah, it's 1,500 here.
Question.
It's 1,500.
1,500 on that one.
Question through the staff. Is this the one that wasn't approved by the regional district?
That's the one that you're speaking of, your worship, is the massive music festival, I believe.
No, I think this is the concert in Cares.
Yeah.
And where did
It was not approved.
What do you mean not approved?
So this one can't be considered.
Well, they didn't give
can't
any
be-
money, I guess.
No,
Yeah.
just,
So,
One at a time, please. There's a question about this group's request.
Yeah.
Do you
I'll
have some
explain.
information?
So, the regional district has a policy that if they don't do the proper reporting within a certain period of time, they're not eligible to apply the next year.
Oh, what a shame.
And the mayor did ask them to reconsider that for this particular group. They chose not to, so you can't fund this one, so this one has to be zero.
Oh, what a bummer.
No, was that a decision of the RDCK?
Correct.
or-
that was our money.
Oh, so they're saying they're not going to put that
No,
forward?
it comes through it's the regional district's money and process. They hold the contract with the CBT.
So on the Health and Arts Society, the RDCK has made a determination that they will not be funded this year because of they didn't meet the requirement last time. And we objected to that, but we were overruled or
And, just to council, just for information, the other regional directors said that please approach them for discretionary funds, and they might be able to assist this group, because of course we don't have discretionary funds, City of Nelson, but rather than see this not be supported. So what I would recommend is, I would like to see us move forward. I don't know, the jury recommended $3,000, and you said the median is 1,500?
Yes.
It has to be zero.
I know, but I mean, recommendation to move that forward to ask for funding from regional district, like discretionary funds from specific directors. That's
Should not the group ask for that?
Yes.
Not us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're compelled to put zero, and what that does is gives us 3,000 credit.
Yeah.
Towards this sector.
And this was a regional district.
Decision, yes.
Any questions on that?
Can I just ask a quick question? Is there a reason that the regional district puts those forward and doesn't weed them out before?
Yeah.
They did, we appealed it. So they did weed it out, we appealed it, and the decision wasn't made till after you guys made your determination.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the process. Number 3, Kootenai Blues Society. The request was 4,500, arts jury recommendation 1,000, and our council median is,
Well, actually, it didn't have more than 3 votes, so.
so it didn't get a recommendation. So we have a arts jury recommendation of 1,000. Is there
We should
any,
go with the arts jury, I think.
any,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm
yes?
good.
Okay, let's go with the 1,000 for that group.
So number 3 gets
Go with the
1,000.
recommendation, 1,000. Kootenai Dance Beat, request 1,500, arts jury recommendation 500. They did have 4, which equaled
500.
500 still? No, that wouldn't have been balanced to 500.
Again, it's the median.
It's the median, so the zeros would have gone in. It's divisible by
Median.
7.
It's not the average, it's the median.
Okay.
How many 4 would at least, so just to refresh everybody, the number we start with is the minimum amount at least 4 of you would have agreed to.
I got it. So that was the mistake on that other sheet.
Oh, you're doing.
Yeah, so at
Okay.
least 4 you had to agree. That n- at
I like
least
the
funding
arts
that
jury
amount.
recommendation.
And you
Okay.
you were the same.
We okay with the jury recommendation?
Yes.
500.
For now, I mean, we've got the extra 3,000 to.
I know, well, this might be the time to say it, though.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to see more there if we have money at the end. I thought they're a compelling case, but
Well, we know we have at least a $3,000 credit.
I think there might be somewhere you recommended more funding.
Okay, so yes to the 500, and we'll come back.
Great.
Number 5, Kootenai International Burlesque Festival, 2,500 asked. The jury recommended 1,500, and we're at 500 for a median.
their recommendation.
I'll go, I agree with the jury.
Sure.
I'm glad you said that.
1,500? Yes, any,
Yeah.
we're okay with the juries? That would be fine then.
That's
Chief
1,500.
Financial Officer, 1,500. 6, Kootenai Literary Society requested 8,000, jury recommended 6,000. Our median, well, our low of the 5 was
Median was 4.
4.
You all have this sheet now.
Yeah.
Right,
you.
now I'm getting it.
Okay, so what the
No,
hell
I
is
didn't
this?
get the new one.
If I could read it, I'd tell you.
I agree with the jury.
Yes on the jury, 6,000.
Is everybody good with that?
Any,
No?
okay. Jury number, 6,000.
6.
Massive Music Festival, 15,
What is 6?
number
sir?
6
Thousand.
is 6,000,
Six is-
Counselor.
It's 6,000.
Well,
Yes.
this is not permanent. These numbers are tentative.
Starting.
Just put in 6 for now.
6,000.
Number 7, Mastiff Music Festival, request 15,000, jury recommended, there's no number there.
Simple.
And we only had 2 that were wanting to contribute to that.
Go with jury.
Jury recommendation of,
0.
yes,
Just a quick note on that.
Yes, please.
There was no budget attached.
yeah, we saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go with 0 for that. Nelson District Arts Council, Art Walk, 2018, 7,500 asked, 5,000 recommended by the jury, and we are at 4,000 as a median.
No. Number 8?
Yeah?
Look at this sheet, Michael.
5,000.
5,000.
How did it get to be 5 then if 4 was the minimum?
What do you do? Add them up? and
Okay,
divide
I
by
won't-
Again, 4 have
Five?
to.
6?
as long as 4 people were 5,000 or more.
Oh, I see. I missed that one. Got it. So 5,000, which is in agreement with council.
Perfect.
We were bang on.
$5,000 is good.
Okay. And number 9, Nelson and District Arts Council Youth Arts Action Committee mural project, 3,000 asked, 3,000 granted by the jury. And
You just have to go down the sheet there,
And-
on the side here.
yeah, I got you.
The reason that I gave them so much less is because there is a mural project going on with Sydney, the Nelson District Arts Council, and I thought it might be a little overkill. And we also already have a mural on those buildings that were just done, and I thought, gosh, maybe the youth center folks could get involved with the big mural festival that's coming up. So that was why my decision was so much lower. But
Are they not? Because it says here the organization, I'm sorry that I wasn't in attendance for this.
Yeah.
It says here the organization putting this forward was the Nelson District Arts Council.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a way to bring the youth into that project.
Well, and I think
Thank
it's
you.
a separate thing from the,
I think so. I think there's some engagement there. Let's hope that there's some engagement there, that they're not off painting the town on one,
Well,
and we're gonna
they're-
repaint it because
Okay,
Okay.
and my apologies too, I wasn't
Doing
here.
panels, and then they're attaching the panels to the
Yeah.
wall.
yeah, but it was
Okay,
brought
good.
forward by the
Mayor, council,
arts.
or council, Mayor Kozak, we got your
Just-
rationale.
just
Are
so
we,
I- oh, sorry.
any concern with the 3,000? Any more on that?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, that was my question.
3,000?
3,000.
Okay.
Number 10 is Nelson and District Museum. History. 2,500 asked, and the jury's wants to grant 1,000.
We were all above
We're
it.
at 2,000
Can't we?
collectively.
5 of us agreed to 1,000 at least.
You would agree 2,000, you
Yeah.
said?
That adds up
Yeah,
to
our council agreed to 2,000, and
Let's
the
go with their
jury-
recommendation and then look at,
I'm okay to put in the extra 1,000 now if we want to.
of the 3,000, of those 3,000 extra for that project?
Oh, no.
No, give them 2 max.
We recommended 2,000.
I know we recommended two
One
thousand,
at a time.
but theirs add up to exactly the right amount.
No, it
With
doesn't.
3,000 extra.
Just 1 second. What Councillor Purcell is saying is because of the Kootenai,
Concert care.
the concerts in care did not get their 3,000, which we had allocated, which is part of the jury's money. We do in fact have 3,000 credit in that sector, which we could apply to some other project.
So
So-
my point.
So if we're saying 2,000 for this, we're taking one of those 1,000.
Yes.
I-
Want to do that?
No.
Can we come
Yeah.
back and look at what's
I
left?
go
Well, it's just going over it again. We're here.
Well, let's,
but it
okay, how many want to
depends
stay with the jury decision?
1,000 with the jury? Okay, let's go there.
Well, hold it. Somebody want 2,000.
Yeah.
And who wants to go to 2?
I mean, I'm okay, but I want to see what else.
I want to go
happens.
through it and then, allocate the
Okay,
extra
I
3,000.
got it.
We put in 2,000 and we'll just star it, that you can revisit.
What a-
No, no, we're gonna leave it at 1 and come
1,000,
back.
and then we'll star it.
There's 2 that I've got starred. That one, and what was the other one? The,
Kootenai Dance
Kootenai
Beach.
Dance Beach.
got it. I'm starring them, the ones we want to go back to. Circus, Nelson Circus Performers, number 11.
I'm good with the jury recommendation.
And
Down under
the
3
jury
hours.
recommendation is they requested 45, their recommendation is 25, and we did not have a majority.
I think
We
2,500.
received 3 or less votes.
So they get nothing.
No.
So
Oh,
do
no,
you want to
no.
go with the jury?
No.
No, well, we're
Good with the
going,
jury.
going with the jury.
We should mostly go with the jury because they went to
Why
the
are we
time
even
and energy.
discussing this?
Because we got a bit of extra money to possibly throw into it, so.
Anyone want to add or subtract from that, from what the jury's recommended?
That's good
The
for now.
jury recommendation will stand 2,500.
So that's what you're giving them?
Yes.
Tentatively, all this is tentative.
So far.
The number 12, Nelson Civic Theater Society establishing a regional screen-based industry, 20,000.
Well, they put it in a different category.
This was considered outside their category, so.
It was taken out and put elsewhere.
I counted it as economic development in
Are
my
we going to
mind.
catch it somewhere else?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
part of your,
So 0 in this column, but it'll come up later.
no, I would just ignore that one for now.
Ignored.
Oh, ignore it for now.
Nelson Fine Arts Center Society requested 10,000. This is Oxygen Art, and recommend from the jury was 8,000.
Good.
I'm fine with that.
Council 5.
It's important.
Council is 5. I gotta find
Eight's good.
13.
It's under.
Oh, you got it.
5 votes.
Are we okay with the 8? Any yeas or nays? Okay, stay with the 8 with that one.
The only thing about Oxton you need to think about, it's been consistently funded for
Yeah.
a number of years. You're
Exactly.
providing core funding for this now.
Everybody needs oxygen.
That's maybe direction to the committee of what you want around these ones that seem to get ongoing funding.
That's why I took so much, that was my thought in giving them so much less this year, is that we're once again,
Wean them.
we're once again paying for their programming.
But you're probably better to give direction to a committee in the future so that they can take that into account.
Next one, number 14, Nelson History Theater, Summer Youth Theater, request 2,500. Jury recommends 1,500, and we're at least there, are we?
1,500, yeah.
Yep.
We're there, so we're bang on with that. Everyone okay with 1,500?
Yep.
All right, we'll do that. Is there any more?
Yeah, there's a
adjudicated-
couple more.
Miyazushi?
Adjudicated
More
ones.
pink ones. Turn the
Next
page, Bob.
Go to page 2, please, and down to number 54. And 54 is the Belfort District Business and Historical Association Kootenai Lake Ferry Ambassador Project. The request was 500. The jury recommends 500, and I think we were all at 500. So
Not all.
mostly
6 were
6 out of 7.
Got outvoted.
So we're good with that?
Yep.
Yes, please. 55, Belfort District and Historical Association Kootenai Outlet Heritage Interpreter Program, request for 5, and the jury recommended 500.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
we were at
please.
5. Yes?
Yes, please.
Done. Number 61, still on that same page, down second from the bottom. Francophones de Kootenays West.
I consider that an ECDEV thing too, but
BC Network, $4,999 requested, and nothing. Did you want to?
Yeah, the jury recommended that Light Pacific Theater Society, that should go under economic development.
Okay, so we'll,
So again, I would,
so that'll be moved.
We need to look at that under economic development, okay. Going to page 3. Kootenai Society for Community Living, a Big B Arts Initiative, 1,500 requested, 1,500 recommended by the jury, and we're at
Most of us.
1,500.
Okay.
Council.
69, Bob.
Thank you.
69, sorry, middle of that third page.
Good.
Any concerns with that?
no.
We're good.
Good.
So
So there's,
that completes the jury recommendations?
but there's 3,000 extra dollars in this sheet with recommended increases.
I got it.
All right.
Well,
That
assuming,
completes all the juried recommendations at this point. Do you want to tell me how much funds are left? Can you add up those ones and give us what's left? Pardon?
We still have 3,000 extra.
So now, do you want to do do you want to do the art section now?
can I ask a question?
No.
Yep.
I'm wondering, did it break down fairly evenly between the pillars? You know, the sectors that we usually divided amongst?
No, I did the calculations, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
It was
I
unbalanced
would be,
again.
my thinking would be to go back to the 2 that got starred and give them what we think we should, and then the rest would go back into pool.
I think we should have a look at what the jury recommended for increases, because they thought a lot about it and had their own
We just went
ideas.
through that.
No, for increases, for above, like they had what they recommended, and then if there was more funding available, they recommended either topping up Burlesque or Elephant Mountain or
Where are you looking?
on this white sheet
Okay,
of
everyone
paper
pick
here.
up this sheet, please, if we want to continue with the arts and culture
Or
section.
the circus thing or oxygen.
So on this sheet here, if you look to the far right column, if further funding's available, the jury is recommending more funding to the Burlesque Festival, Elephant Mountain, and the circus.
Civic Theater.
So just,
Can we
circus,
leave
One point,
that money in reserve?
Too
until
small, I can't read it.
Complete the rest.
Yes,
can I
I
just,
would like to.
I just have to share some information. It's the regional district did not send the massive budget through to the city of Nelson, so that's why it wasn't included.
Oh. Why didn't they send it?
They made a mistake.
Well, maybe we should give it to them. or some of it anyway.
So what does that mean?
Means the jury did not consider their application because they didn't have a budget.
Okay, so just before we go any further, let's deal with this one.
Yeah, so it wasn't the group's fault or organization's fault, it was an error by.
And they were disqualified based on not having a budget, basically.
So if you want to go back to number 7 on page 1, massive music festival, request of 15,000, jury granted 0 based on them not having a budget, but also in council, we only have 2 councillors that are recommending any money.
Yeah.
So the majority said nothing there.
So I thought we couldn't give them any money.
No, this is.
That's a different group.
That's the Health Arts Society.
Is there, well, that's where we're at, Bob.
Okay, thank you. I already wrote it down last time.
That's where we're at.
We just wanted
What
to share.
what I want to work with is just the arts sector, and think in mind, we have 3,000 maybe we can put on here. And how do you want to split that? And I have Dance Beat, Nelson District Museum that we had some questions about, as well as these
Museum should go up.
for,
Massive Music Festival.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. I would go back to the application, the jury's recommendations for some more. I'm open to recommendations on the 3,000.
Put the museum up.
Put the museum up. Do I have a museum on here?
The,
Yes, I have a history. They're 1,000 right now. What do you want to put them up?
2 would be nice. I mean, up to 2.
up to 2.
Up to 2.
Okay, so Counselor Adams recommending another 1,000 to the,
Which
to
number
the
is that?
museum.
number
This
10.
is number 10. Any question, discussion about that?
I agree with
All in
Councillor Adams.
favor?
That was your median.
Let's do that. 2,000 to the history,
Try it again.
to the museum,
So now there's another
leaving
2.
2,000. Any other recommendations?
Well, I see here they recommend Elephant Mountain, an increase there.
I think we've been very generous with Elephant Mountain.
Which number's that?
That's true. Oh, that's such a great
Number 6.
asset for our city.
It sure is, but, you know, we're.
Number 6 is Elephant Mountain. Oh, there it is. yeah.
So you have 2,000.
I agree
So
with
you
Mayor.
we have 2,000. Are you going to make a number?
I would put another 1,000 on Elephant Mountain.
Okay, just stay with that one for now. Is anyone want to discuss that? All in favor of the 1,000 going to Elephant Mountain of that 2,000 that's left? I would do that too.
That's 2
Okay, so that's not working. We've got,
Hold it there. Counselor Warmington has a suggestion.
Well, I'm just wondering with this leftover money, you know, we still have to work in the Civic Theatre and Economusée and all of these other things. So if we're not split right down the middle on.
I'm okay to have it left over. I just want to
Let's have
give
it left over
opportunity.
for now.
But let me just go to the dance beat. That
just
was
think that
500. Are we okay with it staying at 500, or is there anyone that wants to recommend anything else there?
I'd give them another.
Look at it at the end.
Okay.
The trouble with at the end, Counselor Warmington, we may not have enough or anything left. This
I
would
would
be,
propose at least bump it up to 1,000 in that case.
any discussion on putting that to 1,000?
Which one?
The other one we started, number 4,
recommendation,
the dance beat.
Why don't we do a straw vote?
Okay,
Okay,
all in favor?
Another 500 there? We've got enough to do that? Any,
So it's going up to 1,000?
And against?
It's not about being against, I just assume leave the $3,000 alone for right now.
no, it's only at 500.
Only down,
there's
down
another
to
500.
50.
So
Okay.
number 4, the dance beat's going to 1,000. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've spent
And
1,500.
there's nothing else to deal with there in that section?
Well, do we see the thing? I don't know. Like when I did the tally for the different groups, and I did wind up putting, I put Izushi, I think, in social or environmental, I can't remember, and then I put Economusée and economic. And even having done that, arts and social were like had more than $100,000 each that they wanted. Environmental had something like 18,000, even if we gave all of them everything. And economic was sort of hovering slightly above their allocated amount. Like it seems to me like not a great idea. Well, first of all, for a jury to have given all this thought, but to eke away allocated arts funding when it's one of the 2 categories that was astronomically oversubscribed.
Okay, so we need to have some direction, and because the pillars or the sectors were a guideline. and I get it, that some are oversubscribed. What that means is where it's undersubscribed, we'd be able to move some of that over and maybe see that at the end.
We just have 10 places to put every dollar, and I feel like it's gonna get used in a different sector.
Currently,
Oh, I
it's
need a recommend-
$1,500.
Sorry?
$1,500 is the amount that we're talking about.
That's right, 1,500.
I think
So-
just note it and.
Which is
Yeah.
fine.
See where it falls out.
So we'll leave 1,500 unspent,
There's
if
two
you
of those
will.
other ones.
It'd be nice to have
Definitely
some to
have a
play with.
Arcus
may have more money
impact
left
on it.
Put that sheet aside. We're gonna be going from the big sheet again, and we'll just start and work our way through, if that's all right. I'm gonna have a look at the sectors after, if that makes sense.
So for this Massey Music Festival, I feel a little bit badly about that because they didn't get reviewed at all. You know, because through no error of their own, have they been totally left out? I can see if they hadn't left out the budget, so I don't know if perhaps you guys might want to consider that.
You can, and we did actually reconsider, but we only had 2 of 7 who wanted to support that. And so it's sort of way down the priority list.
How many of council discounted it because the arts jury didn't?
Yeah.
So I would
We
just,
didn't know that they didn't.
No, we didn't have that
We didn't know
information.
that
oh,
information.
you didn't know that?
No, when we
Well,
do
they
this, we
didn't-
do it independent of
Oh,
knowing
you
that
didn't have their recommendations?
No.
No.
Yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
no, we didn't have the
But
recommendation.
we didn't
we
have-
also didn't have their budget.
Yeah, we didn't have their,
we
pre-
couldn't even
yeah.
look at the
We had
budget.
the same information that should,
Yeah.
I mean, I might have decided. So what we can do is do your personal adjudication of this item, knowing that by no fault of their own, did their budget not come in, and we've seen the budget now, and it's a reasonable budget, and do you want to make does anyone want to make a recommendation? I'm looking to Councillor Warmington, who,
Well, what I again say is that we don't know how it's all gonna come out when we look at our medians. So I think we need to go through it once and see what we come out at, and then decide how we're gonna deal with these.
so no, you don't want to make a recommendation for any funding there right
Well,
now?
I would like to see them get a bit of funding, definitely, but I don't know what that's gonna be until I see our bottom line.
Well, let's just
I'm
circle
I'm
that.
suggesting this might be the time to put it in.
$3,000?
I don't think
we only
We only have 1,500 left.
Only have 1,500.
And they asked for 15,000.
Yeah.
Can I just ask what the total is now with putting the jury's recommendations in there?
Less down
For the
50.
whole?
Yeah, so based on that, Kevin, we're at 143. Now, we haven't allocated the 1,500 on there, so we're at 35,000.
So we're
But
still-
based on that, we're at 143, so we still have an additional $2,800.
Okay, so there is some money, more than the thing.
I just think this is, I'm asking now for that, for a recommend, if anyone wants to recommend anything there.
We don't know what we're gonna end up.
Okay, let's carry on. You want to go back? We can. Number,
Michael, you need to start at the top because it's by votes.
Top of
You need
what?
to start with this.
oh, this one.
So everybody needs to work on this.
We're now going to this sheet. We're,
'Cause it's by the number of votes.
the long sheet, and what we're gonna do,
Here, you got a magnifying glass?
Bob, you're gonna have to bring one.
starting point,
Bring one, put it in your drawer.
and the first one is number 15, Nelson Isuzu Friendship Society, and, geez, we have a starting point of, they asked for 16,690, and then we have a starting point of 8.
Sure, let's go for it.
Yes.
So if you look at your sheet, and what's helpful is if you take the long sheet and put another sheet across it so you can see, so you block out everything else and you can see that line. So number 15 on the long sheet, the request is 16,690, starting point, and the starting point is gained by,
Yeah.
So it's the median, so at least 4 you had to say, I want to fund it
So,
$8,000 or more.
so the
That's where
median
you start.
shows on this sheet.
No,
No,
it shows on the sheet you got.
it's in the,
Yeah, but
it's in the yellow column.
what's wrong with this one?
It's not on this sheet.
No, but what's wrong with this one?
There's nothing wrong with it. That's one you need to look at.
Put a sheet across it, it'll make it easier for you, Counselor Adams.
The median, Bob.
Yeah, no, I can read it. I don't need this. I just need the, where did the median
The
come
starting
from?
point, the big,
the
the
yellow
darker yellow
column.
square,
so can we take that one just for the example? Okay, so can everybody go to the long sheet for a second? So just so everyone's clear.
These numbers are all added up.
Let me explain it so everyone's clear. Does everybody find number 15 on the long sheet?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're finding, so in this case, someone said 16,690, some said 1, then 5, 5, 8, 75, 10, and 8,000.
So if
the
you add all
pe-
that up-
number, no, the number of people, so at least 4 of you have to agree to a minimum funding. So that fourth person is at 8,000, right? So we have 1 at 16, 1 at 10, 2 at 8. So at least
And one
4
at
of you
75.
said 8,000 or more.
Or more,
Does
yep.
that, everybody understand that?
Yep.
Yes.
So that's how they're all determined. So it's not an average, it's where everybody would agree, at least 4 of you had to say, I would give it 8,000 or more.
Got it.
So given we have all those many votes, I'm going to recommend we go with the 8,000.
I'll second that.
Yep.
Yes, let's put that in.
Good.
Second one, be awareness. 4,000 requested,
When we're gonna give them 5, I don't think.
and
we-
the starting point is 5. How'd that happen?
Yeah, how did that happen? If they only asked for 4,
That was my bad writing.
okay?
It's 3,000.
It's 3.
It's 3 under the median?
Yeah, and I think I'm happy with that too.
And so with the B, we're at 3 for the median. Everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Put in that, please.
5,000.
Next one, City of Nelson Youth,
Oh, shut up.
Youth Center Programming Boost. Request 12,000,
There's no way to keep track.
and our median is 5. Number 27.
Yes.
Yes, start with
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Start with that.
All right, thank you. Friends of Pulpit Rock request 10,000, our median is 5. Any yays, nays? Let's start with the 5.
So what did the youth program?
Horse Association of Central Kootenays, $800 requested, 500 is the starting point,
5?
Thank you.
500 for the number 52, the horse.
Sure.
Yes?
No, why don't
Okay.
why don't we give them 8?
Check to that.
Let's star it, Robin, and see what we end up with. at
You
the
want to
end.
star that one?
Yeah, Robin would like to start, and I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
They only asked for 8. We're
Kids
gonna-
sport, 4,000 requested, the median is 3, and this is item 53 in your second page.
Yes.
Sounds good?
I just want to speak on that one, and I would star that one as well. I think Kids Sport is an organization that covers a lot of sports in our town and supports a lot of kids broadly. And if we're going to consider it, I would, if we have any funds, I would go there. But 3 for now.
The other thing that I would add is that I think that the Nelson District Sport Council actually had a substantial amount of money left, and they have opened their door to the community, and the sport and kids sport may have applied to them as well.
And one of the things that you maybe didn't hear when they came was, we didn't ask for money last year, I think maybe even
Because
2
they-
years, because they were using those funds.
But they still have, they,
You're just starring it.
Yeah,
It was
okay,
funds from
something else.
conference hockey.
right, from the hockey
Coolest Cup.
tournament, Coolest Cup.
Coolest Cup.
Nelson and District Arts Council, number 8, Art Walk.
We
We're
already
now
did that one.
into,
Yeah,
next
you
one
can skip
down on
that
the
one.
long page, we're into 6 votes.
Now you can skip that
We
one.
did that one.
That one? We already did that, Art Walk, because it's brown.
Oh, you got it,
Right.
sorry, my mistake, thank you. SQX Dance Company requested 8,000, and starting point is 2.
I'd star that one if we're gonna go with 2. I think they're,
A star on that, and we're going with 2, anything else?
Lots of funds.
How's that not arts?
because
how is that not
because
art?
they happen to dance, but really it's about bullying and social awareness. Like it's not about the dance, that's the medium for the social message.
Friends of Kootenai Lake Stewardship Society, 6th Annual Lake Summit request 700.
Oh, yeah.
Starting point 700, we're good with that.
Yep.
Friends of Kootenai Lake Stewardship Society, Earth Day Cleanup, request 350, and we're there.
Yeah.
Nelson Communities, next one down, Nelson Community Service Downtown Street Outreach, request 6, and we are at 6, with 6 of us, so we're good with that. Nelson Tech Club, Coding, Digital Fabrication, Tools for Youth, 4,200 requested, and their median is 2,500. Okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. West Kootenai Brain Injury Society, Community Partnership Project 1550 requested, and we're at 1,000. All okay with that?
I might wish that we gave more.
Okay. 44, West Kootenai Eco Society, Growing Regional Farmers Markets, $1,000 requested, median 1,000.
Wait, hang on.
West Kootenai Eco Society Market Fest in service to our community, number 45 request, $9,500. This was about their street fest, and our median is 2,000.
I think we should put a star on that, maybe.
Just a second and have a look at that. Too bad we don't have names on the top of all the lists.
Okay.
Okay, so 2,000 and a star. Then come back. Whitewater Racer Society requested 10,193 for netting, and our median is 2,000.
Yep.
I think we
Stay
need to
with
put
that?
a star on that too.
You want a star on that?
I feel like probably buy 6 feet of netting for $2,000.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let's make it 2 and come back. Cycling Society of Nelson. This is cycling without age, the bike with the 2-seater on the front for seniors or people with disabilities. $2,500 requested, and we're at $1,200. All okay with that?
I'd like to put a star on that one too.
Give me more.
Okay, we're gonna put a star
Counselor
there.
Sherbrill's gonna be digging in his
Only
pocket.
allowed to 3 stars.
Stay with the, stay with the
Yeah, no
1,200.
kidding.
Belfour, okay, we did that one. Nelson Kayak and Canoe Club. Diverse population while building leadership. 2,000 request, 1,000 is the median.
Sure.
All okay?
Yep.
I'm good with that.
Nelson Tennis Club, this is a big one. The multi-sports complex at LVR, 14,482 requested. 5,500 was the median.
This was the tricky one to me because they said they needed all or nothing of the funding, like on their application form. So I wasn't, it was, most of them said they could do part of their project with part of the funding, but this one didn't say that. And
Well, they can give the money back.
Okay, I'm gonna star that.
My feeling is next year.
Any other discussion on that
And,
one?
Counselor Warmington, you had something to say.
Well, I just think they've got a big grant and they've got a lot of work to do with a whole lot of community involvement. And I'd like to see them kind of get through that first phase before we commit money to this add-on lighting piece, myself personally.
And they could
since
come
they're
back
asking
next
for
year.
all or nothing, I think next year may more sense.
They ask for all or nothing.
Sense because of that.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying nothing this year, and, you know,
Resubmit
because they
next year.
have a lot of work on their plate already, given the nature of how they're implementing the project and the large grant they got.
I mean, part of it was lighting, so I don't know if they need to do that first and lay the work for that, you know, I guess I just don't.
They're saying,
Just
5,500 and move on.
Yeah,
Yes.
star it.
stay at 5,500 and go back. I just, one thing I would add, I did call them because I was wondering if it was gonna be public access.
Yeah.
And it's actually a club, a tennis club you join, or there'll be a fee to pay for people using it. And they've got the school using it, and then public fits in, so just a consideration. Okay,
Oh, I think, just to say
But
that
they did
most of
say
the
that
clubs that
with-
we give money to have some fees
yeah, and
associated.
they did say it was gonna be reasonable for the
Yeah, I mean, and they
pickleball
are
and
gonna
that.
have more than tennis there, so if they do the pickleball and the,
Others.
So we'll stay at 5,500.
Pickleball for old guys.
They may be able to budget that and from year to year as well.
If we give them 5,500 and they can't make use of it, then they have to give it back, and then who does it get given to? Like, does it just?
Nobody. Goes back
Nobody.
to back.
Back for the next year.
Okay.
they can,
Us or
Yeah.
to the regional district?
Well, through the region.
If they don't
Comes
complete
back.
the
and some
project.
people ask for, as we have done in the past, an extension of their time. We've been more than gracious with extensions.
Okay, so that covers the bigger projects that have a smaller amount. Thank you for raising that question, Councillor Purcell. Number 62, Community Futures Central Kootenai Community Investment Co-op Startup, request 8,000, and our median is 4,000. Any more discussion? Make it so. Community Futures Central Kootenai Digital Equity Pilot Project, 8,000, and again, 4,000. All right, we'll move on. Kootenai Cooperative Radio, the HVAC system, and the appeal from Mary was really quite nice. $2,200 requested, and our median's 2,000. I think they're there. You could star that if you want to give them 200.
Well, no.
Kootenai Kids Society, Vehicle Support Outreach, $625, and we're there with $625. Number 70, Nelson and District Chamber of Commerce, Regional Visitor Center Plaza, 10,000 ask, 5,000 was the median.
I would just like to star that one, and I'd like to just give a bit of an explanation why I said 0 this year. We have consistently funded the Chamber of Commerce from these funds for over 10 years. We have helped them get the building renovated. We have given them substantial support over time to complete it. The reason that I said 0 this year is because there are so many other asks and there are so many other big projects with, for example, the Civic Theater and places like that that want to get up and running, and that's why I said 0. It's got nothing to do with, you know, the chamber. I think they do great work, but they have consistently gotten big chunks for the last 13 years.
All right. Well, their ask was 10,000 and we're at 5. So do we need to discuss that some more?
No, I'm fine with what council decides. I'm not gonna, you know, fall on my sword here, but it's up to you guys. But I wanted to let you know why I did that.
Okay.
5's good.
71, Nelson Electric Tramway Society, energy efficient lighting. And the ask was 4,000 and the median was 2.
Did I miss 69? What happened to 69?
We already dealt with it because it's an arts project.
It's in brown.
Oh, okay.
Anything else to add? So leave that at 2. My problem with the tramway and their electric lighting, they didn't have a plan. They said they're just looking at the lighting and didn't have.
Yeah.
Well, the plan is you take out the old light and put in a new one. That's the plan.
But hadn't costed it out or had any
Well,
details
it's
on the
difficult
project.
to cost something like that out. They have to get somebody that can stand on top of a high flipping ladder to get to those lights.
All right, Councillor Turbo, looks
Can
like
we
they'll have
just-
$2,000 to do that. Let's
I-
move down to 28.
I don't know what.
Actually, I think
What?
Down
the
to,
rest of these, I think the one you want to jump to is 12, right?
yes.
Because
Yeah,
Civic
12,
Theater
the Nelson
Society.
Civic Theater.
Nelson Civic, thank you.
Civic Theater.
Nelson Civic Theater, established against regional screen-based industry, request 20,000, and our median is 5.
And that's where I took from what I might have given the chamber and put it as a much higher amount to this
I
group,
would-
to give them a boost.
So you want to, are we
Well,
okay with that? We're at 5 votes, so it's pretty strong. 5.
I was
Leave it
gonna
at
say
that?
more.
I'd like to give them some
Leave it
more.
at
Well, let's
5,000?
start.
We'll start and see what we have at the end.
It's about getting those good projects going, getting them funded enough so that they have that leg up, you know, and then at least you got something. Okay, carry on.
Nelson, oh no, and now I can go to 28?
Correct.
Preston Valley?
Crescent Valley Food Action Coalition Harvest, fellow wants to pay for gas to bring extra harvested food over to Nelson.
Yeah,
And,
we all said
and we're okay with $500 for that.
that's good.
Friends of Kootenai Lake Stewardship Youth Water Festival down at Lakeside Park, 2,000 requested and 500 is the number. And this was all the schools involved in that. So we're okay with 500? Kootenai Art Therapy Institute, their master's degree accreditation, they requested 15.5, and a median is at 8.
I'd star that one.
And,
Give 'em 8.
you know, I just don't know why it's under arts and culture.
Yeah.
It's-
No, I
It
thought
should
that
not
should-
be
I
under.
put that
not under
under
arts and culture.
economic development.
Yeah,
Is it under arts
Okay.
and culture?
No,
Oh, it says that on the big
I
sheet.
also think it should be economic development.
Okay, thank you, yeah. All right,
And see if that's gonna make a difference,
okay,
Mr. McClure.
Well, they didn't have it in there, the jury didn't jury.
okay,
it.
good.
Just be careful of economic development. Almost anybody that employs somebody, you can say is economic development.
True.
Yeah,
Could I
Okay,
just
we're-
ask, sorry,
yep.
my apologies in terms of when I was going through and trying to find information and I wasn't here, but could somebody tell me a little bit more about what that project was? 'Cause-
Okay, I can.
thank you.
So they made a presentation to council a number of months ago that they are
At committee of the whole.
applying for accreditation so their program can become a university master's program. And we referred them to this funding source to apply. And so they have to go through a number of hoops and administrative type stuff that they've explained around being accredited as a master's, and they're saying that it'll create some more, I mean, it just brings their institution up to a new level of being able to issue a university master's degree as opposed to certificates.
And there was no concern that other universities or colleges would be coming to ask us for this kind of educational money to assist with what I would consider degree creep.
Yeah, well, I think the difference is for me, it was an association or a group that wasn't a university or college. It's not, it's developing that. Once they're there, they're there. And it's in our community.
I was comfortable with this request simply because of the high level of free service they provide in the community.
That too.
Support a whole lot of social service agencies with art therapy for kids and adults and stuff, at no cost, so.
They do give back to the community quite a lot, even though they are private.
All right, any more discussion? I can move on with 8,000 for that. Nelson Care, Stepping Stones, shelter kitchen upgrade, 5,000 requested, 3,000 was a median. Everyone okay? Well, move on to 38. Nelson Social Planning Action Network, operational support for Social Planning Action Network Society, request of 9,000, and we're offering
4,500.
Or 45 as a median. Okay with that?
I'd start.
You want to start that? The couple that weren't here for the presentation, that's for them to create basically having a person that we can go to that's
A
gonna be-
coordinator for a year to.
Coordinator for
manage.
social sector. Number 40, Rise Above Pain Society, Integrated Pain Self-Management Program, 3392 requested, 2,000 was the median.
I'd star that one too.
Anna, you're out of stars.
I haven't starred very many.
Okay.
What was the average there, sorry?
2,000. Seeds,
Thanks.
Nelson, 4,000 requested, 2,000 is the median.
Yes.
That's good.
Sure.
And
Some pot
Tagum
makes
Community
more
Hall
money.
Society, Creative Space, 1,000 requested, 500 was the median. Enough people thought that it was okay to sponsor things outside. I thought it wasn't part of.
Well, we're asking them to fund some of our stuff too, so I think the argument was that some Nelson kids attend that camp.
Probably.
Yeah, it's a lovely space. Yeah.
I don't know if they do.
They said they did.
That was my thought initially too, was that what are we
Never
doing?
trust.
Why aren't they asking for their own, but.
It would be interesting to find out how much of the other total requested funds these groups actually get. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, here's where we ended up, but where on
Yes,
theirs, to
exactly.
kind of find out where it stacks.
And Council, years ago, what we used to try to do was coordinate our thinking with area directors as well.
When did that stop?
I don't know. Well, I think it's because of scheduling. I think that by the time we're discussing stuff they've already done or they've not done yet, and it's timing. That's why.
It'd be great for the presenters to not have to do it multiple times if they just presented to us and area EMF.
And it depends on
We'll
what
invite
method.
them.
All right,
We'll
let's
invite ENF to come.
let's
Yep,
let's
that's
move
great.
on and
And
we'll
age.
leave the planning next year's.
What'd you
planning
give,
later.
42?
40, 46, 42. We're at
500.
500.
500, okay.
46, West Kootenai Eco Society Nelson Cup Pilot Project, 2999 requested, and 500 is the median. It's an
Yeah.
interesting project.
You won't be able to buy enough cups.
The Capoeira
Capoeira,
Club of Nelson requesting 4250, and 500 was the median.
They were one of the ones who also were all or nothing.
Are
I
they
think.
the horses?
No,
I
they
don't
wanted
think
to
so.
bring a guy in to give people tests to get their cord or whatever, like their version of their belt in karate or.
Oh, did it
Are
say
these-
all or nothing? I didn't
Like a
notice
martial
that.
arts kind of.
It's a martial arts, Brazilian martial arts form.
Yeah.
Through the school.
Yeah.
All right.
When they ask for 5,000 and we give them 500, do you think they're going to go ahead?
Well,
Well, if they don't, they're going to return that, and we'll have those funds for
Yeah,
next
fair
year.
enough.
can we check that?
Sorry.
Because if they said, no, they can't do it with less funding, then we shouldn't give them any right off the bat. Why give them something if they're saying they can't do
I
it?
wonder if I can find it.
They probably didn't say
Can you
that.
flag that and then we'll come back to it? Thank you.
The other interpretation is I can't do it without that full funding, which
Right.
means I have to go and raise those funds somewhere else to make it happen.
But I think in the context of the application, I think it's fairly
it should
clear
be
that
clear.
it's, we won't consider you if we're not giving you the whole.
We might want to make it
We-
clear in the application
Yeah,
in the
we'll,
future.
we'll look at that, because you're right, if we want people to.
I think at 500 bucks.
It depends.
I can contact.
Yeah,
And people's philosophy, right? They may think, I want to say we need
Yeah.
all of it to increase my chance of getting all of it, but it may actually work against them.
If they say,
Yeah.
if we say you're disqualified, if
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna carry on number 58, Nordic.
Good.
Nelson Nordic Ski Club, LED lights for the night loop, 1,300 requested, 800 was the median. Everyone okay?
Yep.
Move on to 60, Kootenai Swim Club, request 2,000, and the median was 1,000. All right, move on. Kootenai Career Development, Canada Learning Guide, 8,000 requested, 4,000 was the median. All right.
I think that should be Canada Learning Code.
We're now moving into an area where there's 4 votes, still a majority. And Nelson Social Planning Action Network, Nelson Area Service Navigator, $7,000 requested, 3,500
Yep.
granted. All right, no other discussion. Glacier Gymnastics, hall renovation, multi-purpose room, 15,700 requested, 1,000 is the median.
That'll only buy a few cans of paint.
Yeah.
All right with that?
You know, I think we need to question, why are we giving them 1,000 when it's such a small percentage of their overall project? And really what we're saying here is that we're not supportive of this particular project at this time.
And so why do 1,000?
That
But I
is my
need to,
question.
well, I've started and we'll come back.
Okay.
I am now at Shoebank Canada Warehouse and Sorting Facility, 5,500.
I apologize, Chair, we just,
The economy.
kind of went over the Francophone.
Oh, it continues with, so 61 Francophone is back in as a, so is it an Argent?
It's an economic development one,
Economic.
right?
Okay, 49,900 for the Francophone Society, and 1,000 is what we're recommending. Yes?
Yeah.
All right. Shoebank, 5,500 and 500 is what we're recommending.
I thought they canceled.
Can we give them more?
No, they came.
They came.
They came?
Okay.
They came, but I thought you said they were,
Am I okay to go to 47?
Ki-
Down the list? We're now in.
What are you doing with
We're still talking about
73?
Shoebank.
We're still talking about shoes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shoebank,
What do you
500.
want to do with it?
5,500 requested,
Higher.
and you want higher.
No.
I'd like to give them at least 1,000.
Okay, let me star that, you guys. I got it. I got it.
1,000 to the
We'll come
shoe
back.
bank.
You're starring it?
Yep.
Can I just
47.
Sorry,
Slow
Okay,
down.
go ahead.
can I just, 68, and I know this is probably not Sarah's
68.
by fault by any measure, is that I actually, my number isn't there, so it became a 3 vote versus a 4.
What are you talking about?
Shoebank.
Shoebank?
No, on number 68, the Hospital Foundation.
Back up,
Which
where?
one?
Oh,
So they've got
She's
their
actually gone
full
ahead.
emulsifier.
Oh, yeah.
See if you're
So
gonna-
it would have been, right now it looks like only 3, so it doesn't count in the getting an average, but I had actually, sent you an email to say 5,000.
Community Lake Hospital Foundation, yeah, I want to give them something.
Number
And so
68.
my number didn't show up in here, so it's not counting in the matrix.
What's your number?
My number was 5,000.
Yeah.
So, but we jumped ahead. You jumped
No, no,
ahead.
but she wanted to make sure. it's
Median
in
would
this
be
section.
5,500.
Jump ahead, it's just because it would have been a 4 vote.
Median would be 1,500.
Right.
So can you add that one, Colin?
Yep. And we also, before we get down to that, we also need to look at the massive, number 7.
We have to look for
Sorry?
massive music.
Massive.
Okay, so can we, just a second, let's deal with the question because you brought that up because we're back in the 4 votes bracket. And the median for the 4 votes for number 68 is $1,500.
Correct.
And so I think we ought to put that in
Yep.
Pencil it in and we'll
and
get
give
to
a
it.
check.
Well, we're not there yet.
But we're,
Lake
it's
Yeah, we are.
penciled.
We're doing
Should've
4
been a
votes, this is the
Should've
problem.
been in 4,
We are
which would've
doing
made it.
4 vote ones, and my vote, wasn't in there.
No, I know that, but why are we doing 68 when we haven't done
Because
47 or
they've got-
The
61?
reason,
Four
I can
votes.
answer the question.
Oh, we just did
The
them,
reason that-
73 was the last one.
The
of 4
reason we're
votes.
doing 68, Counselor Purcell, is
Yeah.
because with the added vote
Because
that was
right,
missed,
nobody else voted for the other ones.
then
Got it.
meets the 4 vote requirement to have a majority.
Got it.
And so the 1,500 stands.
Got it.
We're now in the receive 3
Maybe
votes
we
or
can-
less.
Maybe just see where we're at.
Yeah, let's see where
Before
we're
you
at.
start considering 3 vote.
That would be really good. Yeah, where are we
There's
at,
only one
Colin?
more, isn't there?
No, I don't know where we're at.
Okay, do you want to give us
The
a,
majority did not.
Vote for that.
can you give us a total?
Certainly. So to be clear on a couple of things, right now, under the arts community, you've done 35 of the 35 of the 36,500 it's in their budget, so that 1,500 is still kind of floating there. The overall, so the difference between monies available and what you have allocated to date, with numerous stars to go through, you have $3,338. That's including
The 1,500.
$1,500 for the one you just put in for the Kootenai Lake Foundation.
I didn't hear that last bit.
So that the 3,300 remaining includes currently 1,500 put in as a starting point for the Kootenai Lake Hospital, FASO, Mosamosa.
It's been removed from that, and that's what's left?
But that's in there, so again, if I take that out,
Part
you're
of the
more
total.
at 5, so.
You put the 1,500 in for the
Yeah.
Kootenai Lake Hospital, and
Which
you're still
drops
left
us-
with the 3,300?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, 33 and 15.
Can I ask about the Kootenai Lake Hospital Foundation one? I mean, CBT doesn't fund any hospital foundation. I know that this is CBT money, but also not CBT money. But what's our rationale besides?
Okay,
that,
let's go
like-
to 68 and have that discussion, Councillor Purcell.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to do that before you deal with line 7 on the massive that you may or may not have voted for, considering they did not provide a budget and only some of you?
No, we're not going to do any more.
Okay.
We're going to go to 68. I know we got to come back to that one.
Okay.
But 68 is going to get some funding because it has 4 majority of votes. And so I'm going to ask,
And your question, Councillor, is around criteria.
Is criteria and why, I understand it got 4 votes and that's why we put 1,500 there. The reason for agreeing to that is what I'm curious.
So the RDCK is the one that's responsible for administrating the contract within the CBT rules.
Mhm.
So it meets the rules. That's all I can say at this.
I guess I just mean philosophically, while it may meet the rules and that's why it wasn't booted out, I don't, is this, they're both fundraising bodies that exist just to fundraise. And I don't know, that's why the CBT doesn't give them any money, because they're purely fundraising entities. How do we feel about that? I think
okay,
it's,
so
I think it's weird, I don't like it.
you've made your statement, and so I'd ask, anyone who has put down funding for that item, will anyone have changed their mind?
I'd give them more money.
Hang on.
68?
Adams?
Yeah, I didn't put anything down.
You put nothing?
Well, put it up,
And-
$1,000.
And what do you want to put?
1,000.
It's already at 1,500.
Yeah, we're at 1,500.
I think you need to.
So I'm at,
I think you need to start, and I'd suggest you start at the top where the majority of you, on the star ones, where the majority of you said we'd support this, to see if anybody wants to
Okay.
increase those.
okay, I've started at 1,500.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through. Let me finish the received 3 votes or less.
Let me just add something to that. It's not for the machine listed, it's for an ultrasound.
Yeah.
No, it's not for. That's
right.
It's
for an
ultrasound, because they bought the Phaso emulsifier.
Let me go through the other ones that got less than 3 votes, please.
Can I just give you some late-breaking news as well here regarding this? It's a point of information. It's from Keith Bridger. I spoke recently to Councillor Daly regarding the CIP grant application I made on April 9th on behalf of the Nelson Tennis Club and SD8. A component of our application pertained to an AED defibrillator. I have since confirmed that the Heart and Stroke Foundation program to supply AEDs is no longer in existence. Thanks. I think we should just write directly to Wayne Gretzky.
Gretzky. Gretzky. It was his dad.
It was his dad. But anyway, that's just a point of information. That's all I'm saying. and we
Part
can-
of their funding was going to be for that too.
Yeah, that's
so-
what he said,
And I think
so-
we referred him to a program.
Walter Gretzky.
Yeah, and I know the curling club's applying, so maybe he's looking at the wrong place. Well,
Yeah.
give him that information.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you to staff.
So I think right now your decision is, do you want to go back and look at the stars ones, or do you want to consider ones where the majority of you have not?
I want to go through the whole thing and give everyone consideration, even though it's
Councillor
been 0.
Warrington has a
Let's
thing here.
go ahead.
Just to notice that we've got quite a few large projects that have asked for a big chunk of money, and we've given them very small amounts of money. And I'm wondering if we want to look at those. There's Glacier Gymnastics, the tennis club, and the Civic Theater, for example. And maybe what we want to do is choose a major project for this year and give them more of the funding that they're looking for so they can actually get it done. And then look at some of these other projects next time. you know, like the tennis club, for example, as I said, it has a grant already. They're going to be busy for this year. The chamber has had lots of funding over the years, so maybe it's time for someone else. Glacier Gymnastics, that's great, their plan, but you know, we're not going to give them all that money. But I look at the Civic Theater, for example, and they've really done a lot of work on that project right away, and I feel like we should maybe consolidate some of the funding and give them the opportunity to do it. Would just be my suggestion. And reduce what we're giving, or not give those other big projects the piddly amounts that we're assigning them.
I had like 21 zeros in mine, so I definitely was more.
Okay, I see your point around, we don't need to go to any of the other ones that didn't have a majority of funding going to them. So we will go back to the start, but before we do that, let's just take a little breath and consider what Councillor Warmington is saying when we do a second through. Are we wanting to shift and give a greater amount of, and Mayor mentioned it as well with the civic arena, we have 33 and 15 at this point.
No, 33 is the total.
Oh, with the 15?
Yeah.
Including the 15.
Because the 15 went to the hospital. Okay, that's not what I understood. Okay, we're at 3,300.
Aim to confuse.
Now, $3,300, Councillor Warmington, means if we want to have bigger chunks going to bigger projects, we'd have to find it somewhere.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, she's talking about taking some money away from ones that we already vetted.
Yes.
Glacier Gymnastics, tennis, and the chamber, which are all sort of similar types of development.
Say those again?
Glacier Gymnastics,
Yeah.
tennis, and the chamber, and I don't know what the total is that we gave those, but since we can't fund all of those big projects to any appreciable amount, could we choose the one that we like? And
Well, we gave the chamber 6,000.
Yes, we did.
Five.
Okay, so the chamber was 5.
Well, they can.
Gymnastics is only 1,000, and the tennis club looks like 5,500 was the
No,
median.
hang on. Where's the tennis club? What number, please?
59? So 51 is gymnastics, 59 is tennis.
I can't see which sector it's in here.
Where are you, 59?
Where's 59?
Which sheet
It's under Group C, all other sectors.
Oh, which in the long sheet? What number?
Which grouping of 5 votes, 6
It's a
votes?
6 vote.
6 vote, thank you.
That's okay.
Glacier Gymnastics was a 4 vote.
It's a different color, that's
Glacier
why.
Gymnastics is 4 votes.
Was a 4 vote one, and the
Tennis was 55.
tennis was a 6 vote.
Tennis is 59.
Also, just FYI, the Capoeira group is one of the all or nothing groups where they didn't apply to any other areas. They only applied to Nelson for $42.50, and we allocated them 500 or whatever.
I think we take that 500.
But are you talking about taking it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, if they can't fund what they want with their $500 and aren't asking money for anyone else, maybe to recommend next year, apply to a couple of the other areas and have a plan. Like,
What number is the chamber, please?
Chamber.
It's 70, it's under,
What?
under
70.
6 votes.
70.
70, okay, thank you.
And I think we should leave it at 5,000.
So I've got a couple of, yes, go ahead, Councillor Morrison.
Well, just in speaking of this, is that I agree with the concept that Councillor Warmington has put forward. I mean, I think it's better, we do a similar project like this at the union, and everybody always wants to give, well, like, we'll give everybody like $10.
Yeah.
And who can do any work with $10? So sometimes you just have to decide that some people aren't getting money in any year, and then they can come back the next year. Now, which one picks is, you know, a bit of a personal flavor, I guess. I would like to ask through the chair to staff, particularly Glacier Gymnastics and the theater, is do we have any idea of what the implications are in costs that would be going into our regular operational budget when these groups get this money to do things? Is there still, like, to me, when I see that, those are our buildings, and there's always some, you know, there's always some other money that has to be spent, and if they get this money this year, are we in a position to be able to support them as the city of Nelson, owners of the building, to actually spend their money? Or are we in that position? And this is where mainly we've always had these refer backs, is when it has dealt with the city of Nelson, we've allowed people to hold their money for an additional year. As if when I think back about the ones where we've had reconsideration because they haven't been able to put their SIP grant forward. So that's the only thing in my mind, because I can see this idea of consolidating some of these and giving some to these other groups, but there's impact, particularly for those two.
And that's still up to
groups.
us. It wouldn't be the RD that would decide to extend it.
Wait,
It would be City
hang
of
on.
Nelson.
They ask us. I mean, but those always come back to us. Yes, they ask them, but it comes back to us because
So,
it's,
did
and
staff
we've
wanna-
always extended them. But I
Staff want to
mean,
respond to that?
So the two were Glacier Gymnastics.
well, I'm just looking at the ones that are in our building, Glacier Gymnastics, and then of course the Civic Theater.
Civic Theater, as far as I understand the application, it's for
A coordinator.
working with film, so it has nothing to do with the building itself.
Okay.
And Glacier Gymnastics, I haven't heard anything
Yeah,
yet.
they were successful, I believe, in getting some CBT recreation funding. I'm not, again, I wasn't here for their presentation.
Yeah.
Just to see what was.
I don't
all
think it,
Okay,
I
that's
didn't
good to
hear
know.
anything from Peter that we had to do anything in
No.
conjunction with this.
The benefit for them was to have, I think a cleanup of a space that has not had much attention. I don't know if those of you had to go into the washrooms and things like that to kind of get them upgraded.
They're just
so-
repurposing space.
Yeah.
So, because you weren't here, the Civic, it's the screen-based industry that they're trying to develop along the same lines as the tech sector, meetups and collaboration.
And the money would go more to a coordinating role to try to
Yes.
build capacity.
Yeah. So I've had some discussion from, or something floated from Councillor Warmington around maybe the mayor, that the Civic at 5,000 is of a $20,000 request.
12.
And we have the other three that were mentioned, tennis at 55, the gymnastics at 1,000, and the chamber at 5,000. Are any of those up for debate to eliminate, to make it a bigger chunk for another group that hasn't got one before?
I've already spoken, so I think my views are known.
So maybe just in terms of the amount, so the 5,000, which ended up being the median, was the lowest amount that the six that identified it as or five, it looks like, identified it as a project. So we had.
So we're the
We're talking
Civic
about the
Theater.
Nelson Civic Theater. So if you look at your long sheet,
On your long sheet on number
we had
12,
you had 25, 12,000, 5,000, and 10,000. So this was one where those that supported it wanted more money, and two of you didn't support it at all.
so I'm, as an outlier at 5,000, I can actually say I would raise my amount there.
You would.
I would raise my amount to the Civic Theater.
Could I?
And-
Yeah.
And I'd go to, the 88 with the 33 that's left rather than touch any of the other ones.
Could I also just speak to some of the other rationale that I used in looking at these allocations? When I looked at where the chamber is at in terms of functionality of their building and usage, they are at full functioning. The funding that they requested is to also, to finish some of the landscaping areas, and that's not a make or break. That building will function well and is functioning well. What I looked at with the bigger asks was, if they don't receive funding, will they be able to achieve full functionality? And so that was part of my rationale in looking at that support as well.
Where's the chamber? What number was the chamber was?
Chamber is 70 under 6 votes.
So I basically, you need someone who is on the chamber to say, yeah, I'll take that off. So if you look at number 70,
Number 7.
where is it on our sheet? Oh,
It's
here it
on,
is.
it's under 6
Oh, yeah,
votes.
70, we have 10, 10, 5, 5, 4, 4.
Yeah, so you were,
So it's Bob and,
and Robin.
so the two that could make a change would be myself or Counselor Morrison.
Yeah, and I'm
That would make a shift. You want to go to 4 on the chamber?
Sure.
Or 2,500?
I think going that.
4 was the other two were saying 4, and you and I were at 5.
Oh, okay.
If we go to 4, it gives another, it takes 1,000 off the chamber and another 1,000 to, in the
Yeah, but they
pool.
can't really do anything with 4.
Okay, well, we'll make it 0, but
They're taking poles out and, yeah.
Counselor Morrison, you want to go to 4 on that?
Well, I could easily go to 4, and I mean, I could easily also eliminate them too. I mean, because I know it's more about the landscaping and the building works, but I mean, you know, I support what's going on down there because I think that when we look at the sort of economic sector, I mean, although it's a beautification of their property, they do in their business represent all the businesses. I mean, that's always the thing that we get here, and it's always this like, there's only so much ask for business, and there's only, you know, then there's a huge ask for other sectors, and then there's, you know, in terms of looking at the 4 pillars, they always tend to be that ask. I think that's part of also why they get it, just because of the way we divvy up the money.
Okay, so can I,
And
you
they're a
say you'll go to
nonprofit
4?
society, not a
Sure.
business.
We can go to 4 on that one then.
Okay.
We'll go to 4 on the chamber.
All right.
Yeah.
And the other one is the Glacier Gymnastics. What number that is? 51. Looking at 51, I have,
Can we go to an easier one?
Yeah, you had 4 votes for that one.
where is it? Oh, yeah, 4 votes. 51.
Near the bottom of the page.
Yeah, and we had 5,000, 5,000, 15,7, and 1,000. So I need
So
to,
1,000 was an outlier. And the other people were substantially higher than that.
yeah.
Put it up.
What did I say? I don't remember what I said.
There was 2 that were,
So
3 at
for-
0 and
What do we got now, 4,300?
Yes. I'm just looking at
I think that I agree with Councillor
Morrison.
Purcell about number 49, that if this club can't do anything without 4,200, why are we giving them 500?
Okay, let's take the 500 off of that one then.
Where?
the
They get
Capricornia.
0.
Yeah,
Capricornia Club.
yeah.
So now we've got
So
48.
now I'm back to the gymnastics club, by the way, guys. And that's number 51. And we've got 3 zeros and a full amount and 2 5s and 1,000. Are we?
Full range.
And it comes to 1,000. Are we looking at doing 1,000 there, or which is where we're at?
Let's, Robin, you're the decider vote here.
Is it?
Yeah.
3, 4.
1,000.
So what are you saying, Michael?
Like if you don't support it, then it doesn't have.
Yeah, you're saying 1,000. If you said 0, it would drop off.
It would drop off because it would only have 3 votes.
And
Right.
1,000 is going to
We'd
make.
go nothing to the gymnastics club.
Well, I guess 0.
Okay, so go 0 to the gymnastics, and that gives us 53?
58.
58. Okay, and are we finished sort of finding
The ones
money?
you looked at to possibly add
chamber-
more were,
Just before we go there,
okay.
4,000 for the chamber, nothing for gymnastics. Tennis is at 55. Are we going to go up, down, stay the same with tennis?
Which number is that?
Tennis is number,
Under 6 votes.
what number?
59 under 6.
Did you want it looked up as to whether or not it was an all or nothing for them?
Yes, please.
It did say all or nothing.
Yeah, and that's, yeah. so
But I don't know if that's true. If,
There were a lot of votes for it at that rate.
take it at
1,
face
2, 3, 4.
The other piece of information is that Mr. Cormack said that there might be another opportunity for a defibrillator, that they could get support and staff would follow up on that portion of their ask. So,
I'm not sure, was that detailed in their budget?
I mean, because that's if there's one piece there I'd like to support, it would be having an AED, given the type of programming that's up there and the fact that
in pickleball.
where the development is going to be, that I would like to see them have an
See,
AED.
given we had three votes that were at 4 or 5,000 and 3 that were at 10 or more. So
There's a lot of support.
there's a lot of support for it, and I don't see that changing.
So the tennis club cannot proceed unless they get full funding.
that's what they said on their form. I
what
kn-
they say on their
and I asked, yeah, I emailed and asked about that, but I don't know if, again, like, I don't know how much defibrillators are, or, you know.
Can we,
$2,000.
How much?
$2,000?
$2,000 to $3,000.
Well, Janice would know.
Yeah.
Well, what it means is whatever they don't, I mean, my interpretation, I think we're talking about that check box about can I proceed with this fully or not? Well, not without the full amount, so but the interpretation then is, does that mean I go out and fundraise because the project's important, or does that kill it because we don't give
It's
it
just
the
not
money?
clear what it means. And,
right.
and I emailed Keith Berger about that, asking about it, but I didn't hear back, so.
Okay, I'd like to leave it at 55, I think there's enough support there.
And again, can I just ask a question about the Ultrasound for Kootenai Foundation and if the Cancer Foundation came forward and wanted money for helping in our area, I just want to make sure we're okay with giving money to fundraising organizations.
I think we have in the past,
For the original ultrasound or?
yeah, for the
Or
CAT
CT
scan.
scan.
CT scan we did,
Gave them a whole property.
yeah,
They
yeah,
built a house on it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Of CIP,
No, it was
yeah.
City of Nelson money.
Yeah.
Donation.
We purchased a CT scan.
With CIP money.
No.
See, this is what I'm asking.
We have given in the past SIP money, and we gave it to the East Kootenai Hospital, which I have to say was a bit of a difficulty for me, because I argued against it at that time. So this council, I think, in our first time that we did these SIP grants, they
You know-
did a presentation.
Actually, the average, the mean there should be 1,000, not 1,500
Where are you?
on 68.
Well,
Lake Foundation?
Oh, no, you had 4 above. Oh, you had 4 above. Oh, yeah, okay.
One question I had, and I don't know, Kevin, the number one sort of thing, the Nelson Izushi friendship one, I don't know how much we were counting on them getting funding for us moving forward on some cottonwood work.
Can you speak up, sir?
Cottonwood, their work at Cottonwood?
Yeah.
Yeah, how much we kind of anticipated that they would be bringing to the table as far as funding for this one, the Isuzu?
Sushi?
15 is,
Is that right at the top under 7
Yeah.
votes?
Yeah.
and we're at
Given them 8,000.
So, okay, which is a good question. So the question of the staff is,
Give the other 5,500 to Azushi?
when I asked,
Seven of you voted for that.
yeah, I asked Azuzu if they could do it over 2 years. Azushi.
Okay.
They already have a project they're completing and they wanted more money to do the next one. And they said, yeah, we could do that over 2 years. So that's why I went half.
Fine with that.
Okay, good to know. Not to attend this, I guess.
Yeah, there's some different pieces to it. Some's,
Right.
yeah.
Any other discussion before we'll go back with we're leaving everything the way it is now, except we're gonna go back to the start with how much in the pot?
Almost $6,000.
Okay, 6,000.
Holy cow.
Now, I guess the one question that I just don't try to make this any longer than it has to be, but the one on Massive, you guys sort of went through it but there was the question as to whether people would have given it a vote if it had had a budget and whether or not that would have changed. That was just the one.
Let's go to Massive.
It's at the very bottom.
Massive Festival number 7 is a $15,000 ask. If you're not familiar, remember, it was a rock and roll festival, 2 or 3 day festival with bands from Nelson and outside areas, and somewhere they're gonna do it in a number of venues here.
They want to increase their venues and some of their programming, I think.
Yeah, and we have Purcell and Warmington supporting with 5,000 or 1,000, and the rest are zips. So if anyone else want to change what they would give to that, given that we now have a budget?
It's gonna come down to 2,500.
Adams?
I was the 5,000. She was
Adams? Nope. Turbo?
Turbo, you enjoy rock and roll.
Okay, and I'm staying with where I am, and Mayor Kozak, you're staying with where you are?
I'm fine with going with what the group wants for that. I mean, if they wanna give them $2,500, I don't know.
Well, we're probably at 1,000
Yeah,
or
no,
something.
well, no, let's not.
Morrison?
No,
Okay.
because again, it's not anywhere near what they need.
Thank you. You've dealt with it. Let's go back to the top.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now I've got 6,000. Now back to the first question raised by Councillor Warmington. Do we want to give a chunk of that to a project that had a bigger budget, i.e. the Civic?
I say yes.
I say yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
So of the 6, do you want to give 3 to the Civic? Is that
Where are we at the Civic right
We're
now?
at 5?
5,
What number is it again?
The Civic is number
12.
12 under 5
Number
votes.
12, okay.
12. Received 5
5
votes. It's at 5,000. And the people who need to up it were me or Morrison. And I'm good with going up 3.
To 8.
Yeah. Morrison?
Hard one for you?
It is a bit of a hard one for me, because, again, I was looking to help support them a little bit more with,
We actually just need the 1 vote.
sorry, with the physical changes within their, building. The toughest part for me, besides giving people the quote-unquote $10 amount, is actually paying somebody's salary. I have a really hard time with that. That's why I voted for no funding for the Nelson and Social Planning Action Network group, because I do not think that we should fund these things, because then they're difficult things to fund and then continue to find funding for if we're hiring somebody to do some kind of work. If this is gonna help them do their work on their strat plans some more, and they need some money to do that to get it going, I can go with increasing the money for the Civic Theatre by the $3,000 that Councillor Daly has suggested.
Thank you. Just my personal thinking on it is, when it's a salary, it's a first year, it's a new initiative, I don't mind doing it, and let them try and find the funding beyond that.
So we're gonna go with 8.
Yeah, we'll go with 8 on the Civic, please. Mr. McClure?
Okay.
Leaving almost 3, can you give me the number?
It would be 2838.
2838. Now we'll go through the stars.
Councillor Morrison right here.
I'm
on
sorry,
joint-
Councillor Morrison.
Sorry, I'm just trying to go back to that, because I missed something in the, we decided that Isuzu didn't need more money.
They're staying at
Okay,
8,
okay.
which is half of
Thank
what
you.
they've asked for.
And the reason for that, Council Morrison, is that they were
They're
saying
gonna
they
do
could
it
do
over
it over
2
2
years.
years.
They can.
Can I make a plug for the Rise Above Pain Society too? I feel like that dovetails
Number?
really. Oh, sorry, that is number 40 under 5 votes. And that work, I think, really speaks to the opioid crisis and, you know, a lot of the health concerns in our community, and they're providing a service that nobody else provides in our area. I mean, we're not doing that badly,
Plus
giving
Bob
them.
and I are gonna be going there.
We're not doing that badly, giving them 2,000, but you know, they asked for 3,392.
The thing is, you've got 5 votes, and I want to deal with the ones with 7 first.
Okay.
Unless there's someone down there that wants to switch up.
In that case,
Well,
Working the angles.
7 votes. 7 votes is the Horse Association 500. They're asking for 8. We're okay with 5, or you want to make it 8?
I think 5 is
Leave
fine.
it there.
Plenty for them.
Okay. And the kids sport at 3. Do you want? They're asking for 4. Do you want to leave it at 3? Anyone want to go up?
No, let's.
Okay, let me move down. Friends of Kootenai Lake Stewardship.
No, SQ
Sorry,
Dance.
SK Dance. Yeah, again,
The plug for them is all the great, like they've become such an interesting organization with very little support from us because they had such a hard time when they were slotted in as an arts group. The arts jury never understood them as an arts group, and I think once we gave them $2,000, and you know, is this thing on? Are people listening?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So I feel like it's something that does a lot of good
swear.
work, and yeah, I'm gonna try not to. Good work in the community around bullying and integration and supporting children emotionally. And if you've ever been to any of their performances, they're just incredibly heartwarming. And the young woman behind it, Carmen, is you know, has been developing things on a scale that's really unusual for something coming out of the Kootenays, and I think it's well worth our support.
So there's 3 others in that group that you probably should talk about all 4 of those.
What numbers?
okay, yes, let me talk about the other ones that are equivalents. The dance company, the Market Fest, 2,000 for a 9,500 ask. Safety netting, 2,000 for a 10,000 ask. And the cycling is 1,200 and of a $2,500 ask. You know, I was okay with that one because someone came forward and bought a bike for them already.
Yeah.
No, but they're starting a new thing. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it bumped up to 2,000.
Yeah, okay.
I thought
And the District Chamber of Commerce, oh, we're done with that at 5.
Are we doing 7s? Or did we?
We're in sixes.
you're on
did-
sixes.
We finished sevens.
Okay, so B awareness and,
And the tennis club, we're set at 55. It's staying where it is.
So you're okay to bump up the cycling to 2,000?
No, not yet. We're competing, you're competing for $2,838 between the dance group, the Eco Society. Want me to take the Eco
Dance, what did we
Society,
give
safety
them?
netting, and the cycling?
and we're looking at sixes.
Yes.
So then what about I heard somebody say that they wanted to give more money to the West Kootenai Brain Injury Society.
Brain injury is Rise Above Pain was,
No, that's different.
Different.
That wasn't a start. Wasn't the one.
Or wasn't one that was
initially-
starred? Oh, he's just doing stars, because I'm looking just at number sixes, okay.
that's done. So within the sixes, do I have any, we have 28, heard from Counselor Sherbo, you want to do the cycling, bump it to 2,000 from 1,200.
Give them the
Yes.
$838, then you'd have 2,000 left.
Yeah, give them 838.
38.
All right,
Like your math, Ken.
I have a motion for 838, all in favor?
Aye.
And what does
That's
that total?
2038.
We got the whole thing?
2038, no.
Oh, 2038.
2038, sorry.
All right, done, Mr. McClure?
Getting there.
And we now have,
There's 6 votes. and
we have
number 50.
2,000, and you can go dance,
Nope.
Kootenai, the Eco Society,
1,300.
and that's it. Unless we're going into the next chart.
Let's do the dance. You should see these
We should-
children
we should-
collaborating together.
We should get them here as,
A lot of
go
provincial
into
and
the
federal
social
funding
action
for
planning.
that.
Like them for some reason.
And she's gotten so, like, she did less programming in Nelson because she just hasn't been getting funding from us. Like, she's been doing more programming in surrounding areas.
I'll back Counselor Purcell.
Okay, 25, we've got, let me see, we've got 500, 4,000, 4, 5, 2.
200,
Warmington,
300.
if you want to bop it up, that'll bring it up.
Sure.
Which one?
Okay, the dance.
Okay,
3,000?
so
Yeah, if you want to
4,000?
take it up 1,000, you could do
Okay.
that. Okay, so that's 3,000 for the dance.
that leaves 1,000.
1,000,
300.
and I'm going through the,
It's 3,000.
yeah, what about the white water?
Yes, they should have more.
Safety net?
Yes, put it up.
No,
No?
Feeling
rather
some of
see.
these clubs, we can't fund everything, but we can give them money to help them fundraise. But
48.
Can they get any kind of netting for 2,000? Like,
no, it would be kind of seed funding for them to.
Was it 15, 1, 2, 3, 2,000 we were going to give them?
yeah.
So do we want to give them 3?
3 and you're done.
3 and we're done.
Yeah, the next other place to go is,
There was brain injury as well.
well, there's a brain injury, the pain, and then
Or
you're
the
back into
pain.
the next level, which is the social planning, which is 4,500 for 99,000 ask.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I mean, just having. I hear what Councillor Morrison was saying about funding salaries, but I guess I do see these sort of first year opportunities as a way to give an organization a bit more space, an organization that sort of runs on fumes, a bit more space to find other coordinating funding.
So which one are we talking about?
Social Planning Action
Planning Action
Network,
Network.
number 38, going from 45 to 55. I need a 38. Where's the 38? I need, we had a 6, 9, 4. Who's the deciding one is Kozak.
for which one, I'm sorry?
For
Number
span, you
38.
were at 4,000.
And you
You
want to
wanna
go to
go to
45?
five.
Or you want to go to
Oh, they want to
5?
go to
Or it's a,
55.
yeah, it's a
The number.
45, want to go to 55.
If the rest of council is, I have to, I have reservations about funding wages as well.
The other is Counselor Sherbo, you can bump it up to 55 and it would happen.
I'm kind of in line. Well,
You're done.
I'll go up if the majority of council
But
agrees.
you've got 3 others that are above that. We've got a 6, a 9, a 4, 75, and a 45. You and the mayor are at 4 and 45. And the other 3 counselors are at 75, 9, and 6.
No, that extra $1,000, it's not that much and but it might make a huge difference to somebody else too.
Okay.
How did we get off the sixes?
Okay, back to the sixes. Well, I'm just looking at what was the least funded out of these.
Or get rid of $1,000
It was
bucks.
only, it was only half of what the fund was as opposed to the other ones.
How about the tech club going to
Seeds are the, seeds
3,000?
is the
Yeah,
same.
I can see
How
that.
about 39? The tech club
Where?
got another 500.
Where are you?
I'm on number 39. It had 6 votes,
Yeah.
and they wanted 4,200, and we gave them 25. What if we went to 3,000 for the tech club?
Sure.
Why not 1,000?
Good
3,500.
with
1,000,
3,000.
and then
We're done.
they're done.
35 for the tech club?
Yeah,
Sure.
All right, let's do that. Done.
done.
35.
We're done. First,
I'm not sure how that worked out.
Chief Financial Officer, can you give us a rundown where we are?
we're done.
We're complete?
Must be time to go home.
These projects are basically all so worthy. Like, I find this process, it's arduous, but really heartening to see all this great initiative.
We need more money.
Yeah, we do need more
We
money.
need more money
Yeah.
from CBT.
Yeah.
It is just excruciating.
More money, you get more applications.
That's true too. Well, maybe not.
I don't know. Do you get more applications?
Got more money.
We're getting.
And we got $300,000 worth of
All right,
applications
do we
as it
have a
is.
final?
Yes.
We
Can,
spent it all.
so if, you're not gonna have a copy in front of you, but can or we're not gonna vote on the approval of this. This is gonna come to.
Oh, yeah, we have to go back into special.
Oh, we're gonna go back in special with these numbers and we can adopt it then?
So we could get it printed.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah, if
print
you
it
would
for
print that, what you have, that'd be great.
Have a
Can I print from here?
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Moved.
Thank you.
We go home now?
no, we
No,
have it in
and
camera.
hang around, we're having
Yeah, we have to
a,
vote on it and then we throw it back in camera, I think.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
Yeah, I think I have a card.
Sharp, maybe? It already says 2 documents are waiting.
Oh, yeah, do it.
was it painless?
It's pretty painless. It's just mildly painful.
And you know what? I don't know that we would get that if we had way more money. I don't know that we'd get way more applications because you know what? When I look at this every year, same
Many of the same
people. This
people.
is the problem for me
Well-
and about funding some of these groups.
Well,
Because if we didn't fund them, they wouldn't be holding on by their shoestrings.
But then we wouldn't have some of the great things that we have, like
True.
yeah.
I mean, it's
Some
pretty
things are
much
never
great
gonna be
stuff
that
that
market
happens
friendly,
out
so.
there.
I could move to regular, to,
You've got all your stuff. You've got all the stuff on your arm. Pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Another chamber meeting.
Well, you would have been missing it too. You would have been missing it too.
Would have, sorry, I missed the word.
I gotta be home at 5
Are the mics off or the mics still on?
because I gotta give my diabetic cat his insulin shot.
Oh, just tell.
and just tell me where it is, I'll print
You no, it was on the desktop. You couldn't print it.
Still on.
She's just shutting it down now.
It is for some of the. How was the stream? How was the live streaming? You should have joined us. I think.
This actually, this should be pretty entertaining. We just went
I
through
wonder.
live streaming.
I wonder.
What do we?